Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Kakashi has had enough of the treatment given to Naruto part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. The mission was awful, and Naruto took the loss pretty badly. He hadn't been himself the whole way home. Kakashi had kept a close eye on the boy, but Sasuke and Sakura's treatment of him didn't help matters. If he did anything in their general vicinity, they'd verbally abuse him, and he would go further into himself. It broke his heart to watch it, and he wasn't entirely sure he could watch it for much longer. If they didn't warm up to him soon, Kakashi could see himself snapping at the arrogant Uchiha and childish Kunoichi. He wanted to watch over Sasuke, for Itachi's sake, the Itachi he knew and worked with, the one he trusted, but it had been 2 years and the boy just couldn't help but bully Naruto on a daily basis. And Naruto meant more to Kakashi than anyone else. He'd lost a lot in his life, and if he saw Naruto's light dull any further, he wasn't entirely sure he could stand to stay in the village much longer. Too many times to count as he began getting ready to take Naruto and run from the torture the boy is going through. But it's Naruto that stops that, his faith that people will accept him once he has earned it. His determination to protect the village that hurt him. He couldn't see Naruto leaving easily if he came to him with the plan. "How long until we reach home?" Naruto asked, his voice void of emotion. Sakura whirled on him and smacked his back, and he tensed, face scrunching up in pain as she hit the wound on his back with full force. "Sasuke is hurt, and needs to take it easy, Naruto. Stop being s." "Enough, Sakura!" Kakashi barked, and she tensed, looking behind her with wide eyes. She looked worried and a little scared. "Naruto is hurt too." He only asked a question. She turned to look at Naruto. Her expression looked to be as though she didn't believe that, but she gasped when she saw the blood soaking through Naruto's orange jacket. "When did that happen?" Sasuke asked, limping closer. "Doesn't matter," Naruto shrugged and walked on ahead. Kakashi sighed, and the two children looked up at him with concern. "He got it when he was protecting you while you were moving Sasuke out the way," Kakashi told Sakura plainly, and gestured that they walked on. He caught up to Naruto. "It'll take about half a day," he informed him. "We'll take a break in a little bit. I'll see to your back then." "It's no big deal," he shrugged and kept on walking ahead. 3 hours later, sat in some shade. Kakashi saw Naruto's mood hadn't lifted at all. It had been silent since Sakura had opened up his wounds, and she was looking a little paler than usual. Naruto sat away from the group as he picked at his food. "Why didn't he say he was hurt?" Sakura asked softly, and Kakashi wanted to pummel them both when Sasuke shrugged. "He shouldn't need to. If you worked as a team, you would have noticed," Kakashi stated, trying to keep his calm, and when he has asked for help in the past, he trailed off and shrugged. "He hasn't asked for help." Sakura frowned and waved at him dismissively. "He charges off without us all the time, and Sasuke is the one that has to." The glare Kakashi had given her cut her off, and she curled in on herself. "He has, in fact, asked for help multiple times. You tell him to shut up and go away. So for over a year now he has never tried." Kakashi sighed, and Sasuke frowned, looking just as confused. "I passed you because I thought you understood teamwork. But clearly your prejudices is getting in the way of that." Kakashi stood up and looked between them. "It's not our fault he isn't a team player," Sasuke huffed. "Yeah, he goes off and does his own thing all the time," Sakura pouted. "It is. Every time he tries, you block him out. Push him to the sidelines or just don't acknowledge his efforts. And he ends up hurt mostly so you two don't." Kakashi sighed. "I gave it 2 years. Hoped you would understand that whatever issues you have with a comrade is not important when working. That your revenge or infatuation doesn't exclude a member of your squad. When we return, I am sending you back to the academy," Kakashi announced. He'd had enough of their treatment of Naruto and the way they refuse to see that they are in the wrong. "What?" Sakura cried out. "You can't do that," Sasuke hissed while Naruto looked up, watching the scene unfold. "I guess that makes sense." He nodded and went back to playing with his food. "Oi dobe," Sasuke snapped, and Naruto flinched. "You get that we can't do missions if we go back to the academy? That we stop training with Kakashi?" Naruto looked at them with dull, uncaring eyes. "We failed the mission and Isuzu was tortured and killed because we didn't work. Let's face it, our successful missions have only ever even by the skin of our teeth." "I'm done," he said. "I am not going to be pushed back because you can't handle the job," Sasuke yelled, standing up. "I can handle the job," Naruto argued. "I can handle this team." He stood up himself and looked to Kakashi. "I'm going on ahead. They work well together, maybe just send me back," he suggested. "They think I'm the problem," so he shrugged and walked off. Kakashi looked to the remaining members of the team and shook his head. "Oh, Obito, I was so sure they understood," he thought. "Let's go," he ordered, and they followed in silence. Naruto stayed ahead and his jacket was mostly covered in blood now, but he had assured Kakashi it had closed up and bandages weren't needed. It was days when Naruto was hurt badly that had Kakashi thankful that Minato had entrusted the fox to Naruto. It seemed to give him healing abilities that help him survive wounds that others would never. The gates were in view and the other Rookie 9 and Team Guy were waving and shouting. Naruto had fallen behind the group now. A lot of the rookies still teased him and Kakashi thought he likely didn't have the capacity to brush it off today. Kiba, Choji, Shikamaru, Niji and Lee seemed to genuinely like Naruto. The others kept their distance while Ino was still clearly against him. It was a B-rank mission and they had worried before they left, so Kakashi wasn't too surprised to see them waiting. "You guys are late," Kiba yelled. "Did Naruto mess up again?" Ino asked loudly, but they all quieted down upon seeing the clearly depressed looks on Sakura and Sasuke's faces. "What happened to you, man?" Kiba asked, looking at Sasuke. "Cracked ribs, couple shuriken to the legs," Sasuke shrugged. "Were you saving Naruto's ass again?" Ino asked. "Nah, he probably rushed in after Naruto." Kiba laughed. "That does sound likely," Shino said. Naruto burst past the team and ran straight to Shikamaru, who looked down at Naruto with more concern on his neutral features than normal as the usual happy ball of energy clung to the Nara, who with only a second of delay wrapped his arms around the boy protectively, glaring at the rest of the team. Naruto's shoulders shook violently as he silently cried into the other boy's neck. Shikamaru lifted a blood-covered hand, looked at it for a moment before firmly pressing it back. The group looked at the duo with jaws hanging open. Only Choji and Lee seemed to be unsurprised by the scene. Shadows shot out and wrapped around Sasuke and Sakura's necks as the Nara narrowed his eyes with a look that said he was ready to strangle them both. "Shikamaru!" Ino gasped, stepping forward, and he turned his glare on her, holding Naruto tighter, clearly shielding him from her as he used a new shadow to push her back. "Stay away from him," he said through clenched teeth and looked back to Kakashi with unusual alert eyes. "What happened?" he demanded. "Shikamaru," Kakashi said calmly. "When did they become this close?" Kakashi wondered. Naruto never went to anybody for help this way. He was convinced nobody would want to deal with him if he was feeling sorry for himself. Perhaps he just reached his limit? But that wouldn't explain Shikamaru's reaction. This is a close friendship, possibly more? Sasuke and Sakura clutched at the shadows as they tightened. His eyes were cold, calculating, and Kakashi believed he would kill them both right here. "What did they do?" he demanded with more force. Shikamaru. Naruto's muffled voice came. It was thick with his tears and cracking. He lifted his hand up without lifting his head. His hand rested on the cheek and immediately the shadows retracted and Shikamaru nodded, pressing his cheek to the mess of blonde locks. Sakura and Sasuke collapsed to the floor, gasping and choking. "Let's go then," he said softly, and before their eyes shadows opened up beneath them and swallowed them whole before also disappearing. Kakashi blinked at the spot and wondered just when Shikamaru had figured that out. "What the hell was that?" Ino yelled. "I would stay away from Shikamaru for a while if I were you," Ino, Choji said, helping her up. "Yes. And the rest of you too," Lee yelled. "What just happened?" Tenten asked. "Is Naruto okay? That was a lot of blood." "He will be fine," Kakashi assured them. As for what it was, he decided that wasn't his place to say. Especially since he wasn't certain it was what he thought. He and Guy had an unusual bond too, and even now they were questioned about if they were just friends. Smiling under his mask, he finally understood what was keeping Naruto here, and it made him very happy to see someone his age cared for him so deeply. If Shikamaru was Naruto's Guy, well then he would be okay. Though he supposed Naruto was more like Guy than Shikamaru. He shrugged, dropping the thought, and looked to Sasuke and Sakura. "Are you two okay?" Kakashi asked. "I'm fine," Sasuke grunted while Sakura sat on the floor, hands to her neck, looking a little distraught. She was shaking and tears were falling down her face. Sasuke froze and looked at her. "Sakura?" he asked, and she looked at him, not blinking. He blamed us," she stammered, and Sasuke nodded. I know this. Not sure what your reasonings are for treating Naruto the way you do," he shrugged, and Kakashi had to clench his jaw to refrain from hitting the last Uchiha. "So he does it on purpose?" "I do." Sakura. Sasuke interrupted harshly, and she pressed her lips together in fear. "You are, and always have been, cruel to him. Pretending to be innocent is just disgusting." He stood up, putting his hands in his pockets. She looked to Lee, who always supported her, but even he avoided her gaze. "We both have been terrible to him." "Face it," Sasuke said, and walked into the village. Kakashi sensed some regret from the boy. Had it been the talk earlier, or the almost death he had received from the heir to the clan of assassins? Kakashi sighed and helped the girl to her feet. "Go home. I will report to Lady Hokage. Are we really being sent back? She asked. We won't risk Naruto's mental state by forcing him to suffer. I should have done it sooner, not when he broke down, Kakashi said. The girl broke out in tears and Ino had ran forward, wrapping her arms around the girl and lead her into the village. The others silently went on their way. Choji, Kakashi called, and the Akimichi here stopped and turned back to Kakashi. What is it, Kakashi-sensei? He asked. Are they okay? He asked. They will be. Shikamaru will help him and in turn he will calm Shikamaru down. They just need to be left alone, he shrugged. Good, thank you. He leaped over the gate onto some rooftops. This could be a turning point. Could Kakashi try once more with his team? Could Naruto handle it? He had no intention of requesting Naruto go back. He had not caused the problem. Perhaps put him with another squad? As he traveled over the village, he saw in the trees of the forest a dark shroud of shadows and smiled at it. Naras always were very protective. He was grateful Naruto found someone like Shikamaru he could trust his vulnerability to. Maybe he will be okay down the road after all, Kakashi thought, landing at the Hokage's office window. Where is the rest of Team 7? She demanded, and Kakashi sighed. She was going to need a new desk after this. Tsunade was less than pleased, and Sakura was in more trouble than most, given Tsunade had taken it into serious consideration to train the girl if she progressed well in the next year. And now she was down yet another desk. Is he okay? She asked, her voice deeper than usual with barely contained rage. Kakashi sighed and leant against the window. I wasn't sure on the way home. He was ready to give up and be sent back to the academy. Though if that happens, I'm not sure he'd stay there. Kakashi could see he was giving up with getting the acceptance he deserved. But after seeing the way he held on to the Chunin, he had hoped that Naruto could make it. Why not? He still wants to become Hokage, Tsunade said. Don't pretend you hadn't noticed it, Kakashi answered harshly. You know he isn't as happy as he usually is. All that boisterous attitude is just him going through the motions. So what do you suggest? She snapped. I told Sasuke and Sakura I will send them both back to the academy. Tsunade looked surprised. Perhaps add Naruto onto another squad, or have him trail along with other teams until we can see if this threat will have them realize they need to change. He shrugged, not really wanting that option. If he had his way, Naruto would be in Suna with Gaara. His village and shinobi seemed to treat Naruto better than his own. But seeing Naruto and Shikamaru earlier, he didn't think that would work. Shikamaru and Nara almost choked the life out of them too. Kakashi finally told her. Naruto ran to him crying and Shikamaru lost it, even pushed his own teammate back. They seem to be close, and I think if possible maybe keep them together for a little while, Kakashi suggested. Was he not trying to scare them? Tsunade asked, her face like stone now. Kakashi shook his head. I genuinely believe he'd have done it if Naruto didn't intervene. It was the truth. The look in Shikamaru's eyes was a look Kakashi had seen far too many times in his lifetime, and it almost always ended with the receiver of the look dead. The shadows disappeared from the forest where he had seen on his way here. Hoping the boys were calmed down, he focused back on the Hokage. I see. She sat back in her chair, clasping her hands over her lap. Let's give them a few days, see how the other two have taken the situation. For now, Team 7 missions are on hold. Team 10 are set to leave for a mission in the morning. Do you think they would be okay separated? I couldn't say. Choji and Lee seemed to be aware of their friendship, so perhaps ask them? But I ask you don't, Kakashi said. I've never seen Naruto reach out for help before. Would it be possible to send Naruto along? Tsunade looked at her demolished desk, contemplating. Kakashi didn't push but instead looked back out the window in hopes of seeing any more odd-placed shadows to locate the boys. Alright. I'll let Asuma know. You shadow them. I want to report on how it helps being around the Nara. Yes, ma'am. Kakashi bowed and left through the window again. The boys were in the Nara forest, another surprise. Knowing he could never follow without getting Shikaku, he headed to Ichiraku's. Walking along the river as the sun was setting, he couldn't help wonder what the relationship was. Neither boys had given any signs they preferred boys. Naruto spent most of his time fawning over Sakura. Though Kakashi knew well that Naruto masked a lot of his true self with what he thought others expected. It's possible his crush on his teammate was just that. Kakashi-sensei? He froze at how small her voice sounded. Looking behind him stood Sakura with red puffy eyes, snot hanging from her nose. She looked as if she hadn't stopped crying since he sent her home. What is it, Sakura? He asked, and she looked down and began nervously picking at her thumbnail. Can I talk to you, please? She asked. He sat down on the grass and patted the ground next to him. She hesitantly sat next to him and pulled her knees up to her chest. I'm listening, he nodded. She chewed her lip and looked at her feet. Naruto was bleeding a lot, and I have never seen him like that, she whispered that Kakashi had to lean in a bit to hear. His wounds will be fine, Kakashi stated. Do I really treat him so badly? She asked. He's always so happy and he fires back all the time, and it's not like he doesn't know he gets in trouble. I didn't realize I was so bad, she said, and Kakashi sighed. He had to remind himself that she was a child, essentially a brainwashed child. Sakura, have you ever stopped to ask yourself why you don't like him? Kakashi asked, and he saw her frown at the question. Her obvious answers are ones she tells him to his face, he knew. But she understood that wasn't what he was asking. And have you ever wondered why Naruto played up the way he did? He waited, letting her take it in and think it through. At some point her eyes stopped blinking as she stared at her feet, tears coming down her eyes. I don't remember. What made you decide, when you met him, that he wasn't going to be your friend? He asked instead, and she looked at him with wide, confused and scared eyes. Her chin quivered as he saw she realized. The grown-up said. Kakashi nodded, looking up to the sky. Has Naruto ever done anything to make you scared for your safety? He asked, and she shook her head like he would intentionally hurt anyone. But they said he was dangerous and that we shouldn't go near him. And even the teachers didn't want to go near him. And when did you stop being afraid of him? If he was so horrible and dangerous, surely it's silly to provoke him the way people did, right? A sob broke out from her, and she clutched her chest, shaking her head. Sakura wasn't cruel. She didn't enjoy hurting Naruto the way he suspected Sasuke did on some small level. It was embedded into her, and she was also a child. Children do and say hurtful things without realizing the consequences. She stuttered and clamped her hand over her mouth as her breath became erratic. Kakashi put his hand in her head and leant forward to look into her eyes. Breath, he said, it's not too late to be better. He's forgiving, and he would accept your apology. Just give him today, he advised, knowing she will get more than that when he leaves tomorrow. She nodded and tried to calm herself down. Eventually she did and got up, apologizing to Kakashi for the trouble, and left him there on the grass. Maybe having her friends not come to her defense was a wake-up call for the girl. Maybe Team 7 wasn't lost after all. Asuma was fine with having Naruto tag along, as well as Kakashi following. Choji already said Shikamaru and Ino are in a spat. Maybe having Naruto around will buff that, he had said. It confirmed to Kakashi that even Asuma wasn't aware of the friendship between Naruto and his star pupil. The mission was a simple escort mission. Naruto still seemed down, but he was talking and smiling today. The siblings they were escorting were enamored with his hair. You're like the sun. The girl giggled and clung to his arm. Ah gee. That's nice of you, he said loudly, looking a little uncomfortable. Ino went to speak, but Shikamaru, stepping on front of Naruto, had her turning her head to face forward again. Seriously. It's amazing. Did you get it from your mom or dad? The girl asked. Neither of the sibling noticed the tension, and Naruto did a wonderful job holding his composure, and without missing a beat he beamed down to her. My dad. It's his color, you know, but his hair is longer and not as much as a mess as mine, but I tend to leave it be, he shrugged. That's so cool. Do you look more like him or your mom? My mom. I mean, I have his hair and skin tone, but the rest is my mom, he lied. Kakashi felt as though his heart was in an iron grasp, causing each beat of his treacherous heart to hurt. He would never forgive himself for not giving Naruto the information he had on his parents. But the Hokage hid it for a reason, and Naruto, being Naruto, would shout it from the rooftops. His dad was Minato, and he would have a bigger target on his head than the one he already had from he villagers, especially if the enemies learned not only was he Minato's son but the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki too. Kakashi knew Minato and Kushina would forgive him of this, but he never felt he deserved it. Naruto deserved to know who his parents were, what they did for him. He wished he could tell Sasuke that his mother was a good friend of Naruto's, and how they hoped they'd be friends, how she offered to take in Naruto. There was a lot Kakashi wished he could tell both boys. The sun had set and Asuma had the camp set up. The siblings had gone to their tents and the others checked over their gear and supplies. Naruto had stayed close to Shikamaru, and Kakashi noticed that when Naruto seemed to quiet down or space out, a shadow would wrap around his wrist, and he'd cheer up. Alright, normal shifts for taking watch, Asuma ordered. What about me? Naruto asked. It's okay, only 4 of us are needed for shift changes, Asuma assured him, his face falling at Naruto's look of disappointment and sad acceptance. I wouldn't mind a full night's sleep, Ino sneered dramatically. He can take my watch if he's too stupid to appreciate the chance. She avoided looking at him, her tone not as full as the usual venom. It took a moment, but Naruto grinned and nodded. Sure. I'll happily take your shift for you, he cheered, and she rolled her eyes half-heartedly and went to her tent. Shikamaru smirked at Naruto, who was all but missing a wagging tail when he looked back to the Nara. Kakashi couldn't help the smile that spread under his mask. They saw. Even Ino. Well then, Asuma chuckled. Choji will take first, then Shikamaru. Naruto, you after that, and I'll take the last. No problem. Naruto agreed. Kakashi probably should have warned Asuma that Naruto might not sleep. He didn't sleep on the first couple of missions, and he knew it was to do with being with new people. He knew of his teammates, but he didn't know them, and they didn't treat him nicely, so he pretended until Kakashi had to put an end to it and explain he was the ANBU that followed him as a child. The speed at which the exhausted boy fell asleep where he sat hurt Kakashi. But to his surprise, Naruto fell asleep against Shikamaru instantly when Choji woke him up for his watch. His head in Shikamaru's lap while his arms were around his waist. He wished he knew when they became this close. When Shikamaru had managed to earn so much trust from him. If there was anything else going on. Shikamaru ran his fingers through the blonde locks and smiled softly at the boy in his lap. Tomorrow will be better still, he said softly as he relaxed against the tree. Kakashi settled on his spot in the tree and felt confident Shikamaru cared about Naruto more than any of their other friends. How much more he couldn't wait to find out. Shikamaru woke Naruto up and informed him it was his turn to take watch. Offering to stay up but with him, Naruto had laughed and shook his head, telling him to go sleep. He sat in silence for a while. Then he got up and walked to a tree opposite the camp. Why are you following us? He asked simply, and Kakashi frowned, looking about confused because he didn't sense anyone else. Then he felt his heart drop as he looked back to see Naruto looking directly at him. How did he know? Frowning further, Kakashi jumped down and landed next to him. Orders, he answered. I'm fine, he deadpanned, looking back to the camp. No, you're not, Kakashi replied and looked at his face, but you're better than yesterday at least. Naruto smiles ever so slightly and nodded. I didn't know you two were so close. Naruto straightened up and blushed ever so slightly. Kakashi almost missed it, and he dark. Everyone has someone they trust completely, right? Naruto asked. Even I get to have that, don't I? Yes, Kakashi smiled. I was actually worried you weren't going to let anyone be that for you, he admitted, and Naruto nodded. I don't want to make you worry about me, Naruto said. Well, that's out of your hands, Kakashi sighed, looking at the sky. Being off his ANBU detail had caused Kakashi some anxiety, but knowing Yamato was there in his stead had reassured him somewhat when he was made to be a teacher. Is it 'cause you watched me grow up? He asked. Partly, he nodded. He knew he'd opened up new questions, but he leant back on his hands and looked to Naruto. Team 7 isn't taking missions for the foreseeable. And the Hokage is going over my request to send the other two back. Not me? He asked, surprised. You aren't the problem, Kakashi said. But they work so hard, and they've improved a lot. It's not fair to send them back because of me. And it's fair to send you back for their ignorance? Kakashi challenged, and the boy sighed heavily, far more tired from life than he should be. Kakashi sensed Shikamaru had woken up from the way Naruto turned his head to the boy slightly. So did he. It's not their fault. They don't understand why they hate me. It was stupid to think being a ninja would work out, Naruto said, moving to go sit next to Shikamaru once more. Kakashi followed and sat opposite them. Shikamaru turned toward Naruto, his head going onto Naruto's lap and hugging him the way Naruto had in his sleep. The blonde absently took strands of the brunette's ponytail, twisting the hair around his fingers. Shikamaru didn't care in the slightest and likely knew Kakashi knew he was awake too. We can't say, Kakashi said, even if we are sure most of them figured it out after the Chunin exams. He looked down to Shikamaru and back to Naruto. If they had questions, it's your right to tell them now, you know. The idea of keeping it quiet was in part to reassure the children who remembered and to give you a chance to make friends and have as normal a life as possible. But that didn't work. Naruto snorted and nodded. Shikamaru knows, of course, he smiled, and Kakashi nodded, not surprised in the slightest. Anyone else? Naruto shrugged. Nobody else needs to know, he said. Kakashi nodded and decided it was enough for him, at least for now. You don't want the other two sent back then? He asked, not missing the unhappy frown on Shikamaru's face. No. I don't want that, he said. You can't keep working that way, Kakashi reasoned, and he nodded. Probably not, he agreed, but I want to try. Shaking his head as he internally disagreed, Kakashi stood up and nodded his okay before leaving the boys. By the time they returned from the mission, Naruto was back to his usual self. Ino had been a lot nicer to Naruto, and it seemed to have been enough for Shikamaru to talk to her again and give her more freedom in coming near Naruto. Reaching the gates, the squad was surprised to see Sakura waiting, basket in hand. Shikamaru immediately tensed but watched Naruto to see what he should do. Kakashi was still amazed by how in tune the Nara seemed to be with him. "Hey, Sakura!" Naruto almost yelled, smiling widely at her, and his face fell upon getting closer. She looked awful. Dark circles under her eyes and her hair unkempt. "Hey, did something happen?" he asked, stepping right up to her, and she looked dumbfounded and guilty all at once. Her lip quivered and Naruto looked horrified. He went to speak and she cried, "Drop the basket," as she wrapped her arms around his neck, making an effort not to touch his back. "I'm so sorry," she wailed, and he stood there, frozen arms hovering over her, as she sobbed into his shoulder. "For what?" he gasped out. "You're an idiot," Shikamaru grumbled, and Naruto frowned at him. "I'm sorry," she cried out again, and he hugged her gently. "Seriously, what are you saying sorry for?" Naruto asked. "For everything," she yelled, shaking her head on his shoulder. They stayed like that for a while. "We need to report," Inazuma said, looking slightly uncomfortable. Naruto nodded and began walking in while Sakura refused to let go. Ino picked up her basket and followed. By the time they made it to the Hokage Tower, Sakura had calmed down and released Naruto. She had asked to speak to him properly if he would be okay with that, and he of course agreed. Maybe Team 7 wasn't finished after all, Kakashi thought as he jumped to the roof to allow Team 10 to give their report before he gave his own. He was exhausted. Despite knowing someone was always on watch and that 3 of the 5 members of the squad were aware of his presence, he still took minimal sleep. Tsunade would demand he go home and sleep before any new missions or decisions have been made. He did want to see the conversation with Sakura and Naruto before sleep though. Get some sort of gauge on Naruto's reaction and if he'd be truthful. He wondered if this exhaustion he felt from watching over and worrying Naruto was similar to being a parent. After giving his report, he followed Naruto and Shikamaru. "She doesn't deserve your forgiveness," Shikamaru said. "Maybe, but she's getting it." "Naruto, are you really just going to let her off after how horribly she treated you?" "Yes," he nodded, and the groan of frustration that left the Nara was something Kakashi had never seen before. When they saw her, Shikamaru left and headed off toward the Nara compound. "I wonder if Shikaku is aware of this?" Kakashi thought. Sakura kept herself together better as she apologized again. They sat on a park bench and she didn't look up to him. "How is your back?" she asked. "It's okay. Doesn't hurt anymore." "Kakashi said you get hurt a lot on our missions?" "Sometimes," he shrugs, and she looked angry for a moment. "Why don't you say anything?" she asked, and he hesitated. "Please be honest with me?" she asked, and he scratched the back of his head nervously. "Well, after a while I just accepted that you didn't care." She flinched her chin, lowering further. "You saw Sasuke hurt, and I just don't think you hear me. Made no sense to take your attention from him while you're so worried." "I don't mean to make you feel so bad," she said meekly, and he looked at her. "I mean, you are an idiot, and you can be annoying." She frowned, and he smiled at her, amused. "Don't think insulting someone is how apologies work," he teased, but she wasn't amused. She glared up at him. "But," she said firmly, "you are kind, and you look out for us. I realized after Kakashi said some things and Shikamaru attacked us that you might not know that I don't actually hate you." "Naruto," she looked to him, "and I never really told you." She trailed off, looking torn. "I can take it," he nodded. She put her hands on his face, and he looked a little scared. "I never thought you were some evil monster who was going to hurt me," she said, and his mouth fell open. "I remember it started with being told to stay away from you, and that you were dangerous. I don't remember why." She looked frustrated. "I don't remember what you did that made my parents and family so determined to not have me play with you, and it's bothered me that it was the reason I never gave you a chance. Then you played up and I just didn't want to get into trouble," she explained, and he nodded. This was something everyone knew about Sakura. She followed the rules, respected her elders, and if Kakashi was honest, even without the fox issue, he didn't think they'd have been friends as children anyway. "Being put on the same team with you initially scared me. Those fears from when I was small came back, and I stuck closer to Sasuke for that, and my feelings for him." "Do I still scare you?" he asked softly, hiding his pain, and she smiled, shaking her head. "I rely on you, Naruto." This was clearly something he was not expecting. "Don't get me wrong, there are times the great Naruto bridge, the fight with Neji, it's like you are consumed by some darkness, but you, it's like you use it for others." She shook her head. "I can't make sense of it because it doesn't feel like you." She sighed. "Do you know what I'm trying to say?" she asked desperately, and he nodded. A sob broke from her, and she wiped her eyes. "I'd like to start again if you'll let me." "Of course I will," he chuckled, and slowly he wrapped his arms around her. "You don't have to feel so bad," he cut off as she smacked his head, leaning back to glare at him. "I absolutely do, idiot." She yelled at him, and he stared at her in shock as she froze, looking horrified. He burst out laughing, rubbing the back of his head. "Guess you're just a hitter," he laughed. She let out a few breathless laughs before apologizing again. "I told Kakashi I didn't want you guys sent back. If I don't get demoted, I said I'd be happy to stay on Team 7. If you guys want that, you know." He smiled awkwardly. A bright smile came to her face as she nodded. "I'd like that," she said, and from the shadows of the trees came Sasuke. "Me too." He leant against the back of the bench. "How else are you gonna beat me?" he teased, and as if things had rightened themselves out, Naruto shot up and yelled at how he already was, and Sasuke was just too sour to admit it. Now is a good time to catch up on sleep, Kakashi thought. Naruto was still hiding, but he was more stable, and Kakashi believed he wouldn't get lost the way he had the other day. Spending all the time he had with Shikamaru seemed to bring up his resistance again. He had thought things were going okay after the heart-to-heart with Sakura a few months back. He had thought his words reached Sasuke enough to get him to at least consider letting go of his pursuit of revenge. Because since Itachi came after the Chunin exams, and Orochimaru's influence, he had gotten worse. To return home to find Sakura and Ino sobbing in the Hokage office and being told Sasuke had defected and Shikamaru was team leader and headed out this morning to retrieve him. He had no doubt Naruto was with them. "I want you to head out and back them up," Tsunade ordered. He didn't wait for anything else. They almost killed each other on the hospital roof only months ago. He did not want to think how they would fight now. The further from the village he got, the more he found barely alive children. His relief to see Shikamaru conscious and talking to Temari almost had him light-headed. If Naruto failed, he knew if something happened to Shikamaru he may not keep himself in check and the seal may loosen. He went on ahead. Shikamaru informed him, "There's been some pretty intense chakra coming from that way. I was Abu." "No," Kakashi ordered. "I'm the captain for TH." Shikamaru, Kakashi warned, and was returned with a glare. "This isn't a normal mission. I have seniority here. You'll head home and report. I will bring him home." Shikamaru gripped Kakashi's wrist in an iron grasp. Kakashi felt the boy shaking. "They aren't normal ninja, and I'm not even sure that he is enough help," he said, and Kakashi gave him a masked smile. "You'd be surprised. Naruto is a Uzumaki, and with that will and stubbornness is more chakra, you understand?" he asked, hoping the Nara knew that Naruto had an exponential amount of his own chakra. Shikamaru huffed and let him go. The valley looked like a seasoned battleground. Not one of two 14-year-old children. It was somewhat ironic that their battle had been here. There was no sign of Sasuke. Naruto was unconscious but alive. Barely. He could practically feel the fox working to keep his vessel alive. Carefully picking up Naruto, placing Sasuke's headband on his stomach. "Thank you, Kyuubi," he whispered, hoping it reached him. There was no way to get him to Tsunade quickly and be gentle, so he just ran. He sent a silent apology to Itachi. He failed his brother, but even Itachi knew that Naruto was his priority. Even after the torture he'd endured from Itachi, he couldn't shake his loyalty to the boy he knew and worked with. The entire situation never sat right with Kakashi, but he knew that was his own biased opinions of the boy he knew. He had faith the fix would keep Naruto breathing until he reached help, even with the added damage from his rush. He worried for Naruto's mental state when he woke to remember he failed. Sasuke may not have felt the loyalty and friendship Naruto had. He looked up to Sasuke. He was the motivation that pushed Naruto to get better. He was Naruto's Obito. The guy you loved but hated, but knew you'd have their back in an instant, no questions asked. He could only hope Naruto took this loss better than he did. Everyone had pulled through, and Neji was still in the ICU. Shikamaru had taken the failure hard and hadn't left the hospital. Kakashi sat in Naruto's room. He wasn't alone. A certain Nara lay next to him, head on his stomach, arms around his waist. He turned up the moment Naruto was admitted, came in and out to check on the rest of his team, and when everyone was cleared and hadn't left, Naruto woke up to the boy wrapped around him. That was 2 days ago. Naruto tensed, put his arm protectively over Shikamaru, looking to the door. Frowning and a little confused, Kakashi looked to see Shikaku in the doorway. "This is where he's been hiding," he smirked, and Naruto nodded slowly. Should have known. He shook his head, leaning on the doorframe. Naruto didn't relax. He looked to Kakashi for some sort of guidance on how this was going to go. He couldn't blame him. Even now, parents still were telling their children off for going near the boy. Neji himself had been punished multiple times just for spending time with him outside of work. Kakashi nodded and Naruto sat back on the bed, but his tension had already woken Shikamaru up. "You don't need to worry about my dad," he mumbled, nuzzling into Naruto's stomach, causing the blonde to blush profusely, and the elder Nara laughed and looked to Kakashi. "Thought you'd be here." He pulled his head back to indicate that he needed to speak to him. Kakashi stood. "I'll be back in an hour, Shikamaru," he told his son, who only grumbled in response. Kakashi was becoming more and more inclined to believe they weren't just friends. As they exited the hospital, Shikaka looked tired and Kakashi felt it was likely to hearing the squad were all in a bad way and was expecting to see his own son also on the verge of death. "How is he?" he asked, and Kakashi looked up to the clear sky. "He's determined he isn't done. That he is going to get him back." Kakashi smiled, surprised he still isn't used to the boy's willpower, and believe he can accomplish anything he sets his mind to. Even if sometimes he falls the way he had a few months back. Jiraiya is going to take Naruto on his travels with him. He believes the boy isn't safe here. Tsunade is going to take on Sakura. Kakashi felt as though the ground had opened up and swallowed him. He had failed them, that was true, but to have them taken from him was worse. Jiraiya was Naruto's godfather, so if he chose to take him, Kakashi couldn't argue that. How long? 3 years. 3 years. He'd never spent so long without seeing Naruto. To think he wouldn't see him until he was gone 17 was heartbreaking. He missed so much, but his safety was more important. If he wasn't safe in the village, traveling with Jiraiya, who can't be traced easily, would be the best option. Not to mention what he would learn under his guidance. Minato was his pupil after all. Shikamaru is going to be so pissed about it, Shikaka groaned, and Kakashi looked at him. I haven't asked. I don't want to assume I know how that feels, he said, yet again reminded of himself and Guy, but is something happening there? I don't know if they know yet, but it's certainly growing into more than friendship. I've never seen Shikamaru this way with anyone else. He could be wrong, of course, but Shikaka rarely is. Naruto may even try to refuse leave if he was right. Do you not want to teach us anymore? Naruto asked him that night. Being told of the decision, he'd not taken it well. He had to go find Sasuke, he had to be here to make sure Sakura was okay, his friends were here, he came up with lots of excuses. Of course I do, Kakashi reassured him, but Jiraiya wants to take you with him, and there isn't much I can do to change that, and if the Hokage chose to take on Sakura I can't demand otherwise, he said. Does he really have to take him away for so long? Sakura asked. He still has his job to do, Kakashi said, which was the truth. He wasn't sure how honest Jiraiya would be with Naruto. So far he had only said he will help him get stronger to bring Sasuke home. I wouldn't have asked for his help if it meant he'd take me away, Naruto said softly. I will be fine, Naruto. Sakura said, I'm going to get stronger and become someone you can depend on too. I told you, next time I am coming with you and we will bring him home, together. Naruto smiled. Who will have your back until then? He asked. You don't need to worry about me. I'll be here with our entire class. You're the one who needs to worry. I mean, Sanin or not, is that perv even able to protect you? She sneered dramatically. It's usually the ones you don't expect who are the most feared shinobi, Kakashi said, looking at Naruto pointedly. When do I go? He asked. A few months. He had to leave to complete some things he couldn't take you along for. You'll likely be put on short missions with other teams until then, Kakashi explained. Sakura looked sad. She had really changed her behavior with him in the past months since their heart-to-heart. Kakashi could see she truly came to care for him. That saying goodbye to him was painful for her. You'll come back though, she said, her face cheerful, but the shaking in her voice said otherwise. Did she feel like he was leaving her too? Naruto seemed to understand this too. Believe it. I won't ever abandon my teammates. She laughed out what Kakashi thought was a sob and looked at him with bright eyes. I believe it, she smiled. Naruto was discharged early thanks to his healing abilities. He spent this time in and out of the village trying to fill in for those who were still in the hospital, so their teams lost as little work as possible. Kakashi was impressed with his energy, given he knew how upset he truly was about the loss of Sasuke. He confessed to Kakashi that he felt a little guilty that the guys were hurt so bad because he knew they didn't go for Sasuke, they went for him. They knew he'd go off alone and wanted to make sure he wasn't alone. He's so determined, and Tenten is a little overwhelmed with him and Lee together. Guy laughed, taking a drink of his beer. Let's not forget you, Kakashi grumbled. Girl must have the patience of a saint. A firm hand smacked him on the back with a loud laugh bursting from his best friend. She is amazing. He praised loudly. We would be doomed without her. Kakashi nodded and believed that, with him and Lee, then Niji's cockiness, he imagined Tenten was the one who remembered the important things that the 3 men she worked with would forget. What will you do when Naruto leaves? Guy asked, looking a little concerned. I won't be going back to NBU, don't worry, he sighed. Truth was, he didn't know. He knew he didn't want to take on any more genin. He'd be happy to just continue doing missions where he was needed. The less time he spent here reminded that Naruto wasn't the better. He'd already requested that once he returns that he become team captain with Sakura and Naruto once again. Tsunade saw no issues with that if all went to plan. Guy looked at Kakashi with that sad puppy look that Kakashi hated. It always made him feel guilty about the path he took after killing Rin. Guy had never given up on him though, made every effort to include him even after being ignored. "Why are you looking at me like that?" he asked. "I don't want to lose you again," he shrugged. "I'm fine." Kakashi rolled his eye. "Naruto is alive, and he will be just fine with Jiraiya." "You've never been apart for so long," he pointed out, and Kakashi nodded. True, he couldn't deny it, and he worried how he would cope himself, but he will right, and I don't doubt you are gonna hover like a mother hen. How would I ever spiral down again? "You believe I could stop that?" Guy asked, his voice a little surprised. Kakashi nodded. Guy had been his light, forcing him to stay in touch with his emotions that weren't just Naruto. He never said it, never admitted it, but he hoped Guy knew how much he trusted and cared for him. "You did it before," he shrugged. "That wasn't me, that was Naruto." "Naruto didn't get me kicked off the ANBU and force me to face life," Kakashi said, eyeing the taller man, who laughed nervously. "You knew about that, huh?" "It was the right call," Kakashi reassured him. "I don't think I would have been good at being there for Naruto if I hadn't had those few years back in the world without almost daily assassinations." "So you aren't mad?" he asked. "Not in the slightest," he smiled, taking a drink of his own beer. Kakashi found Naruto sat in the Nara forest just in sight from where he stood at the border. He was sat cross-legged, looking like he was meditating. Frowning, confused at how he was even in there without a Nara escort was just as surprising as seeing Naruto look like he was meditating. "Naruto?" he called. The blonde opened his eyes and Kakashi felt his heart drop as he was met with the glowing blood-red eyes. Did something happen? Was he hurt? He almost ran into the forest. "I'm fine," he called, putting his hand up, palms up, telling him to stay put. Shikamaru poked his head from behind a tree. Oh, so he wasn't alone, Kakashi thought as Naruto's eyes returned to his blue. "I saw. They're talking," Shikamaru drawled, causing Kakashi to calm down but also worry. He remembered Kushina saying sometimes the fox would talk, but it was never good. "How long has that been happening?" he asked carefully as Naruto stood up and walked over. "A little while. He's a huge grump though," he sighed. "He talks back?" he asked, surprised. Kushina said he never talked back to her. Only goaded her when things got tough while she was pregnant. Kakashi remembered her having a panic attack while he was assigned to her. When he calmed her down, Minato arrived home and he heard them talking about how the fox had threatened the baby and to get loose while she was giving birth. Kakashi thought he was a real pace of work. They waited for signs of distress in Naruto as a kid, worried that the fox would torment him growing up. "If you want to call it that," Naruto shrugged. "He's getting better though." "Liar," Shikamaru called. "I'm not. He didn't ignore me today," he shrugged. "I mean, he told me to go away, but that's better than ignoring me. But sometimes he'll talk," he laughed, and Kakashi was taken aback. God, he's going after the fox with that kindness of his next. He is going to try and be friends with the demon that almost destroyed the village, and the scary part of it was that Kakashi would not be surprised if he succeeded. "What do you talk about?" Kakashi asked calmly. Because honestly, the idea this thing would tell Naruto things he won't keep to himself was concerning. "He tells me some jutsu he knows, but won't teach me," he pouted. "He told me I wasn't his first vessel, though." He frowned, how he'd been passed down like some sort of heirloom. "That's so?" Kakashi asked, and Naruto smiled softly at him. "You don't need to worry, he didn't give me any details on her. But it was cool to learn I'm related to grandma by marriage." His grin turned sad and Kakashi sighed. "So he knew some, it's true, right?" he asked, but it didn't sound like a question. He believed the fox. Kakashi sat down on the grass, sighing heavily. Naruto followed. He looked into the trees and back to Naruto, questioning if he was happy for Shikamaru to hear it, even if he knew the answer. Naruto only nodded and looked at Kakashi with eyes full of pain, but that he was trusting Kakashi to be honest with him. "Yes. You know who my parents were, don't you?" he asked calmly, and Kakashi nodded. "Is it really so wrong for me to know?" The old man just brushed it off when I asked. "Why did you never ask me?" Kakashi wondered. "Because I didn't want you to do the same. But I always thought you knew. The way you are with me being dog and all." He shrugged. "It's not wrong for you to know. As a kid it was, even now. They were great people, and shinobi, but you running across the village declaring who they are and how cool they were is trouble that you can't handle yet," Kakashi told him honestly. Even now, he was still targeted just for being Minato's only living student. Naruto frowned and nodded slowly, taking it in. They had enemies then, he concluded, and Kakashi nodded. He didn't move or say anything, and Kakashi worried the fox was adding in more details. "Okay, but why use Uzumaki's?" he asked. The sealing powers of the Uzumaki is unparalleled, so it made sense, but also they have exceptional chakra reserves. Some, like you and your mother, have more than the average Uzumaki. He said something about sealing, he said absently, then looked right to Kakashi. I'll stop digging for their identities. But you have to tell me one day. Kakashi was taken aback by this. He was so rational about it, and he seemed as though he truly understood why and accepted it. I'd love to tell you, he agreed. You get your energy from your mum, Kakashi said softly, and Naruto tensed. He deserved to know this much, and that tick you have, you know she did it too. The way you laugh when you're embarrassed and scratch the back of your head, that's your dad. They were both brilliant ninja, and strong too. But they were kind of dopey at times. Really? He asked, his voice cracking. You got a lot from them. It seems even without their influence you still became a mix of them. He put his hand on the boy's shoulder and leant forward to be eye level with him. It wasn't like Kakashi to be this open, or even comforting, but if it kept that fire in Naruto going, he could be the loving big brother he likely would have been if they had lived. So when people comment on your behavior, the way you work, remember that it's them, and you should be proud of it. Because one day everyone who failed you, never gave you the chance you deserve, they are going to eat their words when you learn and announce those missing parts of you. Tears welled in those blue depths, and Kakashi felt his throat go tight as the emotions he kept hidden were pushing upward. Nodding, Naruto pushed forward and hugged Kakashi tightly. He smiled under the mask, hugging him back. Shikamaru was leant against a tree, eyes closed and a smile on his face. It had Kakashi's smile widening. That boy truly cared for Naruto. Kakashi was aware that he shadowed Naruto more than he should, which is why he still didn't understand how he never knew about Naruto and Shikamaru being so close. But given he had seen it a lot since the day Naruto broke down, his only logical conclusion was that Naruto knew he was being watched and took steps to hide it. But now, it's as though the boys didn't care. Jiraiya had returned and Naruto was leaving at the end of the week. The rest of the Rookie 9 and Team Guy wouldn't be in the village at the time, so Naruto was saying goodbye to those that were here, before they left. Kakashi was more bothered by the fact these kids still called themselves the Rookie 9. 2 other groups of genin had come out the academy since. He was perched on his tree and looking at the training grounds at Naruto and Shikamaru. In his defense, he was here before they arrived. How was it? Shikamaru asked. Awful. We wouldn't stop crying, which set off Hinata, and that just made me feel bad. She is so kind and I don't want to make her cry, Naruto said. Why did Grandma send you all on missions before I had to go? He pouted. Naruto knew why. Because she didn't know when Jiraiya would return. I'm sure the hardest part is over, Shikamaru said, laying on the grass. Naruto pouted more and looked down at Shikamaru. Kakashi felt his heart speed up because that look. Obito, Kakashi thought, and at that moment he knew Shikamaru meant more to Naruto than anyone else. The look of pain, nerves, and a little bit of fear. God, he looked just like Obito the many times he almost confessed to Rin. It was painful to see, and he didn't want to invade in on this, but he couldn't look away. Sure, the hardest part, Naruto sighed, closing his eyes and looking up to the sky. You're right, Kakashi, Shikamaru said, and that had Naruto glaring at him. Kakashi could practically hear Naruto's frustrated thoughts. You know, for a genius, you're a fucking idiot, Naruto snapped, walking closer toward Kakashi and his perch. Shikamaru opened his eyes, looking at the sky a little surprised. Naruto? He called, getting up and catching his arm. What the hell? Naruto stopped, taking a breath and lowering his head. Doesn't matter, I'm sorry, he apologized, and the Nara eyed him carefully. Would he see it? Figure out what had caused the outburst. He sighed and let him go. What a drag. I know, Naruto chuckled forcefully. Bloody Naros, Kakashi thought, amused. Well, he has until tomorrow before Team 10 leave. Kakashi never used the word plop for anyone other than Naruto, because it was the only word fitting for the way that boy fell to the ground to sit. He plopped to the grass, and now it was Shikamaru standing over him. He looked back to the training ground, and they stayed like that for a while. Naruto was getting fidgety, he'd been still for too long. I'll miss you too, Shikamaru said, causing Naruto to jump. He looked to him, and Kakashi wished he could see his eyes. Whatever he was showing had Naruto looking up in awe. I know that, he blurted out. You'll be able to write, so we will all have something. What will you get to stay connected to home? Give you that motivation to remember to write, he asked. Naruto looked offended. Why would I forget to write? He scoffed. It'll be like a new start, nobody will be cold to you. Shikamaru's smile was sardonic. Maybe find a girl better than Sakura. He was insecure, and he didn't want Naruto to forget him. Maybe even knew he didn't see him as a friend and was worried about a new love interest. Let's face it, we all know Jiraiya's reputation. Kakashi smiled, glancing at his book and back to the boys. That's true. Naruto will no doubt be roped into research and helping with the manuscripts. Naruto's face softened as he smiled up at Shikamaru. The only motivation I need to write is to keep you updated and annoy you with letters, he teased, but Shikamaru didn't look amused. Do I really need to spell it out for you? Naruto asked, but again wasn't answered. Probably sensing this was a serious concern, Naruto stood and reached for the taller boy's hand but stopped for a moment. I'm not as dense as you may think. It may have taken me longer, but I understand. He frowned. The hardest goodbye isn't Lee, or Niji, or even Kakashi. Gee, thanks, Naruto, he thought, but he had a huge grin under his mask. He couldn't even pretend that it offended him. If you say Sakura, I will hit you, Shikamaru deadpanned. See, an idiot, Naruto snipped. It's you. I see. His voice cracked and Shikamaru's eyes widened in shock. I'm finding it really hard to go, and you're going tomorrow, and I don't think I have it in me to leave. Seriously, I keep thinking of ways to convince them to let me stay. Why? The same reason you don't want me to go, Naruto shrugged, completely confident that he was right. Because I love you. He was clearly terrified. He said it, but he didn't move or freak out. He just waited as Shikamaru composed himself. You think I love you? He asked dismissively, and Naruto nodded, grinning and bouncing on the balls of his feet. Yeah. Brave of you to just assume and confess that. He shrugged, but he didn't take his hand from Naruto's. You can't assume facts, he said teasingly, and Shikamaru rolled his eyes. Kakashi had the impression that was possibly being thrown back at him. You have to go, Shikamaru said. I know, but I'll be here. If what I'm learning is right, you have to go. Kakashi sat up, no longer thinking this was cute. It feels right. Especially after Itachi turning up. He was there for me, and if they are an organization, they're working for someone. I couldn't get a reason why, but it's safe to say it's about Kurama, Shikamaru said. Kurama? Who was that? Naruto nodded and bit his lip and looked directly at Kakashi, then back. You can't tell anyone about my feelings, he said, and Kakashi felt his heart break. Shikamaru nodded and stopped digging. If they catch you, I will be fine, Shikamaru dismissed. He's gonna help you, right? I'm not sure. He was very uncommitted about it. Kakashi had questions. Ones he would make sure he got before he left. It still seems reckless to send you out with only Jiraiya, legendary Sannin, or not, Shikamaru frowned. I told you. I think he's strong. When he turned up Itachi, and the blue guy didn't even try to fight him. They had seriously talked about this, Kakashi realized, gone over things in detail. Deciding not to interrupt their last day together, he left. He'll ask Naruto his questions tomorrow. Naruto was not his usual cheerful self. Shikamaru had gone, which was enough, but so was the rest of his friends save Sakura. He sat in his apartment alone, and Kakashi couldn't help but think perhaps he felt a little forgotten. Given how he had been treated his whole life, it'd be hard not to. It was his last night in Konoha, and he was predictably alone. Knocking lightly on the window, he waved, and Naruto's face split into a huge smile. Waving him in, Kakashi opened the window and stepped in. Naruto never locked the window. When Kakashi had asked, he was told it was so he could always get in. Kakashi never used doors. Finally come to question me, huh? Yes, and invite you to my house. Really? He beamed, and Kakashi chuckled, nodding. It's your last night. I don't want you sat here eating cup ramen. Kakashi shrugged and was pounced on by the kid, who hugged him tightly. Thanks, Kakashi. Have you been to see Iruka? He asked, prying the blonde off. Yeah, he bought me a new bag for all my stuff, he yelled, excited as he reached under his bed to show the gray bag. Said it should be a normal non-clan branded one. Something like that. Makes sense. He cried too. That makes sense too, Kakashi nodded. Okay, go on. What do you want to know? You know about the Akatsuki? Pretty much. Who is Kurama? He asked, and Naruto looked down, a little guilty. Kurama is the Nine Tails, he said. He has a name? Kakashi asked, surprised. Why wouldn't he have a name? Shikaku isn't called the One Tail. That was a good point. He assumed that was something the sand had given him. Names are given. Where would chakra beasts get their names? He told you his name? He's a little more cooperative this last 2 weeks. Verbally anyway. He figured Jiraiya will want me to learn to use his chakra, but he told me that'll never happen. That wasn't surprising. Well, that answered the other question of if he knew what they were after. One more thing, he said, and Naruto nodded. How do you always seem to know I'm there? Naruto frowned, looking a little confused. Because you're there, he said. Obviously, but it's not like I make myself known. Even when I was following you on the mission for Team 10, you knew I was there. I was concealed, you shouldn't have known. I felt you. Kakashi felt like his heart stopped for a moment. Felt me? Naruto, can you sense other people, ninja and civilian? He asked. Yeah, he frowned. You don't? He asked. Not civilians and not ninja who are concealed. It's usually my experience and instincts that help there. He's using sensory jutsu like it's nothing. Is he always using it? And he picks up civilians, which is impressive given they have minimal chakra. How long have you done that? He asked. It started after the Uchiha massacre. The night you were kidnapped, Kakashi corrected. Naruto nodded. He had been abused a lot by the villagers and ANBU were assigned to protect him, but even some of them never liked him. But only once did someone try to kidnap him. It had happened when I was alone, or felt scared, then eventually it became something I did when on mission, or with Shikamaru. You can do it whenever? Yeah. Kakashi had no words and wondered when the kid would stop surprising him. Sighing, he picked up the bag and stood up. Is this everything? He asked, and Naruto nodded but ran to his room and came out with a box. Can you keep this at your place? I don't really trust that this place will be standing when I come home. Kakashi again felt his heart break for him, because it was a legitimate worry for him. Too often had he come home from missions to find this place ruined and robbed. He nodded. What's in it? He asked casually. Just stuff. You know, trinkets and things people gave me. Kakashi nodded and asked no more questions. Naruto had fallen asleep an hour ago, and Kakashi was having a hard time letting go. He kept telling himself this was for the best, and Jiraiya was more than capable of protecting Naruto, but he was essentially a stranger. He didn't know Naruto, he didn't understand the masks he put up, and to think he'd spend 3 years hiding himself with no respite from it had Kakashi more than a little nervous. His nerves were now going haywire, the tension and feeling he had suppressed all month finally brimming to the surface. Saying goodbye was going to be painful and upsetting, and he didn't want to do it, but he reminded himself it was only temporary. He wasn't losing Naruto the way he lost the others he cared for. The only comfort he had was the knowledge that Naruto would be treated with kindness, and Jiraiya, despite not knowing him, did love him. Kakashi knew in his heart he had nothing to worry about, but still he did. Kakashi, Naruto's voice came, causing him to blink up and see Naruto lay there looking at him with a look of concern and the shadow of a smile. Kakashi looked to the clock to see it had been almost 4 hours. He had sat there in an internal panic for hours. Naruto sat up and came over, wrapping his arms around him and pressed his head onto Kakashi's shoulder. I'll be fine, and I'm coming home, he said softly, causing the usually composed and aloof man to laugh weakly as he couldn't resist the urge to hug the boy. I trust only one person more than Jiraiya. I don't doubt you would be safe with him, Kakashi said, but I still worry. I guess that's expected since you looked out for me since I was small, he shrugged. You've been the best teacher I could have hoped for, and I wouldn't want any other father figure. Kakashi tensed, his heart pounding in his ears as he understood the meaning of the blonde's words. Here he always had the idea it would be a brotherly bond, even if it wasn't the one he thought he'd get before the rampage. He never expected Naruto to feel that way, never mind to see him as a father figure. He'd said it to himself on a few occasions when he wondered if a situation was the same as a parent, but he never dared to see himself that way. What did you say? He asked softly, pulling back to look at him, and Naruto turned red as he looked at the floor. Well, you are, he whispered. I didn't know it, but you looked after me my whole life. More than any old man, and I look up to you so much. Having the choice, I'd want you to be. Kakashi felt guilty. Because he hadn't been that great. As the Anbu he made sure he had food when he couldn't get more, bought him toys, gave him that connection he was denied. But as his sensei? He didn't think he had done enough to earn that, especially since he knew who his real father was, and he never wanted to replace him. Even if Naruto never had anyone to compare the role to. It made him happy, though, to know Naruto trusted and loved him enough to consider him family. And it made him angry he didn't fight harder to adopt him. He wasn't the Uchiha, he wasn't Anbu because he was under Minato's orders. When he died, he had ceased to be an Anbu. When Lord Third denied him, stating he was too young to take on a child, he was too naive to understand or see that that logic didn't apply to the shinobi world. He had already killed hundreds by that point. Granted, not for a while since he was assigned to Kushina. Lord Third obviously didn't want to lose Kakashi's talent for the job. I tried to adopt you, he blurted out, and Naruto looked up at him, eyes wide, mouth hanging open, and Kakashi internally punched himself. Damn it. Well, it was put there now, he sighed. After the attack I tried to take you in. But it was denied, he said, and Naruto nodded. Makes sense. I don't think the elders really wanted me to have someone. Tears fell from his blue eyes and Kakashi wanted to beat the shit out of himself. I wasn't the only one either. Your mother had a friend and she also tried to take you and he told him about himself. Why not Mikoto too? So I was wanted? He asked, his voice breaking, and Kakashi smiled, ruffling the mess of blonde. Most definitely he wanted. For the millionth time, tell him everything. It was a lovely day, and as the remainder of Team 7 stood at the gates, Kakashi felt the guilt of losing the Uchiha bite at his heart, followed by his own sorrow at saying goodbye to Naruto. Sakura was smiling, but it was clearly forced. Jiraiya clamped his hand on Kakashi's shoulder. I've got him, try not to worry so much, he said. It'll be strange not being bombarded with all that energy, he shrugged. I'm sure Bushy-Brow-sensei will wear you out in my place, Naruto laughed, which Kakashi believed. Naruto looked towards the Nara forest, a wistful look on his face that quickly turned to pain as he pressed his lips together. Hey, Kakashi said, and Naruto turned to look at him. I'll watch your home, he said, and Naruto laughed to cover up his almost sob of relief. Thank you, he smiled. Right, kiddo, time to go, Jiraiya said, and Naruto nodded. Sakura gave him a quick hug and told him to be safe and to write. There will be no details of where we are, Jiraiya said, and she smiled. Of course. Bye, Sakura. Naruto smiled, and don't worry, we will find him. I know, she said confidently, and he looked so proud of her. He quickly hugged Kakashi. I'll see you soon, Pops, he said casually, and despite the conversation the night before, it still shook Kakashi. He smiled and nodded. We will be here, he said, ruffling the blonde locks one last time. 3 years is nothing, he told himself, as he felt like his life was walking away with the kid. He'd been through enough. He didn't understand why Itachi was helping people to make his life harder. All he could do was hope Jiraiya gave him the right guidance to be okay when the Akatsuki came. I'll take care of your friends, Naruto, just come back in one pace, he thought as the duo were lost in the distance. A small sob had him look down at the pink-haired Kunoichi. He put his hand on her shoulder. Ready? He asked her gently. They're both gone now, she cried softly, and he nodded. You will be too. He saw her fear, her pain. They'll be back, he said with certainty, and you'll be ready to back them up. And you? She sniffed, wiping her eyes. He didn't want to lie to her. He knew he'd be gone on missions as much as possible. I'll be about, but no doubt be on lots of missions. Her face broke into sadness as she cried more, but I've already put paperwork in to be your captain again when Naruto returns. Her face went blank and she looked at him. With me? She asked, and he nodded. Absolutely, he smiled down at her. This seemed to be what she needed to hear. She broke into a smile, wiping her eyes. I'll be better. Ready to help and not so much a burden, she said, determined. Well, then we better get you started, he said, putting his hand on her back and leading her to the Hokage Tower. The last couple of months she had changed, and Kakashi could stand to be near her without wanting to request she be taken from his care. She had made a real effort to change her behavior toward Naruto. And for that, and Naruto, he was willing to stand by her. You're going to be quite the terrifying ninja when Tsunade is done with you, he said, and she smiled. As long as I can back up my friends. That's all I need, she said. Kakashi nodded. Yes, she will be a good friend to him in years to come. Time skip 1 year after departure. Escorting the ninja from Suna was the last thing Kakashi wanted to be doing, but apparently the information was vital and had to be delivered to Gaara intact. Entrusted only to him to hand-deliver, the Sand Ninja were here on other business, and Kakashi was asked to come with them as he was coming anyway. Why Gaara and not the elders, Kakashi didn't know, but it wasn't his place to ask, so he accepted the mission just for the sake of being out of the village. Naruto was right, and last week someone had burnt down his apartment. Kakashi was just grateful he emptied the place a few months after he left. But it left a bitter taste in his mouth, and he really couldn't stand to be in the village right now. Tsunade had sensed as much, and he thinks this is why she sent him on such a basic mission. He may or may not have found who did it, and scared them senseless donning his old ANBE uniform. He smirked under his mask as the people who terrorized Naruto were nothing more than cowards who could only bully a child, and when faced with someone who would fight back they fell to their knees begging to be let go. Of course Kakashi couldn't act on his urge to give them just a taste of what they have put Naruto through. His job was to protect them, not beat them to a pulp. He hated it. Kakashi? A voice came and he faced the Sand Shinobi Jonin who had halted the squad. He nodded his head forward. He looked ahead, seeing a figure ahead standing in the middle of the path. The bandages, sword and weapons pack made it clear they were a ninja. The long brown hair was braided and hung over the shoulder. Mind if I? Kakashi asked lazily, and the Jonin nodded. Be my guest, he said, stepping defensively in front of his own genin. The girl, who Kakashi was told had sensory abilities, was shaking, not taking her eyes off the person ahead. What do you sense? He asked, unblinking as tears came over her eyes. They're strong, and their chakra is so dark, she whispered. Her twin brother put his hand on her shoulder. All right then, I'll go see what they want, Kakashi drawled and walked on ahead, stuffing his hands in his pockets. As he neared, he realized it was a woman. Kakashi Hatake, she said, amused. Never had the pleasure. He didn't respond. Honestly, being so famous made work hard. He always felt grateful he had kept his face hidden. Do you want something from me? He asked. Have something for you, she said, looking as bored as he did. He kept his face neutral and got ready to move if she was attacking, reaching into her pack slowly and pulling out a scroll with a necklace wrapped around it. Message from a friend, she said, holding it out to him. He carefully took it, and the moment it left her hands, she nodded and shinshined away. Waiting a moment and looked back to the sand genin to see her on her knees, he knew she had gone. Making his way back, he sniffed the scroll. He didn't smell any chakra or bombs. There was no jutsu on it. As they had set up camp at the border between the land of fire and the land of wind, Kakashi stepped aside and pulled the scroll out of his pack. The chain wasn't familiar. He didn't see the point in having it wrapped around the scroll. Taking it off, he prepared himself and opened the scroll. When nothing happened, he opened it up. The border isn't safe, and June is untrustworthy. The children must be protected, but what you're carrying has information that must reach Gaara. Do not let your guard down. Kakashi looked to the sand ninja at the fire. June was the Jonin. He hadn't given any indication of being a threat to the children or the mission. I'm sorry about sending Mikazuki, but despite her aura, she is trustworthy. I'll see you soon, Pops. Kakashi tensed, eyes widening at the last word. Was this Naruto? His writing was nothing like it had been last year, but nobody else but Naruto had ever called him that. Only Jiraiya and Sakura heard it. Possibly Jiraiya then? Opening the scroll further, there was nothing else. Sighing at the annoyance of dealing with a possible traitor and having to possibly kill him in front of his students was not how Kakashi wanted to end this mission. Throwing the scroll in the fire as he sat back down in the camp, four sand ninja looked at him curiously. Everything okay? June asked. Just some old enemies, Kakashi said. The sun had gone down, and everyone had eaten. I'll take first watch, June said. Kids off to bed, he ordered. Thanks, June, Kakashi waved lazily as he jumped into a tree over the sleeping bags of the kids. They were nice, seemed to really value each other even if one wasn't related. If the children were in danger, that could only mean he intended to kill any witnesses, not just me, Kakashi thought. The scroll was secure, and he had done a transformation jutsu to swap his book for the scroll and vice versa. But he didn't think that would be enough. Hoping he would steal the scroll and leave was not smart. 2 hours later, the kids were asleep, Kakashi acting to be asleep, hoping he could do this without traumatizing them. They may be ninja, but nobody deserved to have to go through the person they trust with their lives and education trying to kill them. Sensing June move, he quickly did a substitution jutsu and jumped down behind a tree next to the children. Silently, as June jumped above, Kakashi put the children in a genjutsu to keep them sleeping should this get loud. Watching from his spot in the shadows of the trees, he saw June pull out a kunai and without hesitation slit the substitution's throat, holding the jutsu long enough for Kakashi to appear behind him. And I thought we were friends, he said casually. June tensed, and when the body turned into a log, he turned kunai in hand to attack. Kakashi caught his wrist twisting so the kunai fell, kicking it as it passed so it wouldn't hit one of the kids. Guest traitors are everywhere these days, he sighed, activating his chidori, and pushed his hand through the chest of the man who just attempted to kill him. Eyes wide with fear that froze as he registered what had just happened to him. These kids seem to like you. Hope it was worth it, Kakashi said, pulling his blood-covered arm from the chest, lifting the body. Moving into the trees, leaving a clone to watch over the kids, he dumped the body, cleaning his arm and glove by a lake. When he got back, he left the glove to dry by the fire. Naruto hadn't wrote in a while, about 3 months, and the others were worried. Kakashi was sure the scroll was from either Naruto or Jiraiya. So it settled his nerves about the well-being of Naruto. He'd have to tell Shikamaru too. He never asked, but Asuma had mentioned he had been off and he didn't know why, that he wouldn't open up to him. Kakashi of course knew, but the boy would never ask. Arriving at Suna, Kakashi wasn't expecting Gaara to be there himself. But there he was at the gate, his sand encircling the 3 upset children. Thank you, Kakashi, he said, nodding his head, leading the children to a woman who led them away. I believe you have something for me. Pulling out the book from his pack and breaking the jutsu, he held the scroll up. Don't suppose you have spoken to him, have you? Kakashi asked. The smaller man almost smiled. Yes, he seemed well, but stuck his nose into sand troubles for me. Sounds like him, he sighed, holding the scroll out. He didn't release it to Gaara. They made eyes contact for a moment before Gaara closed his eyes, bowing his head slightly. It'll make you old, Pops, being paranoid like that, Gaara said smoothly, and Kakashi smirked under his mask. My hair may be silver, but I am far from old, Kakashi drawled, relinquishing the scroll to Gaara. We have a place for you to rest. Come, Gaara said, turning into the village, his sand all but dragging Kakashi along to follow. No escaping the hospitality of Suna. Time skip. 2 years after departure. Letters had been frequent from Naruto the last 5 months. He must be somewhere safe or close by. The kids were thrilled talking about him and what he wrote. Except Shikamaru. Kakashi noticed he only scowled at the sky when they brought up the blonde. He wondered if Naruto had not sent him anything. Shikamaru, what is with you? Come on, you have been in a bad mood all day, she said, hands on her hips. Ino, drop it, he ordered, but she sighed. Look, I know you aren't happy about being made to come, but it's a clan thing. He glared at her. What's a clan thing? Kiba asked. Oh, Dad had spoken to the elders and asked that the head and here come to dinner regarding some stuff. We are supposed to find out about some plan between the clans, she said. This isn't good, Kakashi thought, concerned at the way the Nara had paled. Kiba laughed. Sounds serious, he looked at Shikamaru and snickered. Shut it, Kiba, Shikamaru snapped. Will you stop it? It's not like we haven't had this before, Ino scorned. This is different, he said, and Hinata and Kiba nodded, one looking ready to hug the two and the other holding in his laughter. Ino's face fell as she looked at the 3 clan hires around her before she glared at Shikamaru. What do you know? She demanded. He groaned. What a fucking drag. He almost yelled, they're setting us up to get married, Ino, he told her, and the pale girl somehow paled further. What? She asked weakly. She began to wobble and Kiba stepped forward, supporting her. Why? She asked. Something our great-grandparents set up. But their kids were always boys. Congratulations, being the first female here in 3 generations, he mock cheered. The elders won't let it go, he added, closing his eyes. Kiba slowly sat her down and looked at Hinata, concerned. Kakashi wondered if Shikaku was okay with this, given his suspicions about Shikamaru and Naruto. He wouldn't imagine him forcing this on his son, or Inoichi for that matter. But still, this was going to break Naruto's heart when he comes home. He wished he could warn him. Time skip. 2 years and 8 months since departure. The village was full of nerves, and a little bit of excitement. Nerves from the villagers and most shinobi, the excitement from the Rookie 9, Team Guy and a few other shinobi. It is any time that Naruto would return home. The rookies and Team Guy had been given only quick mission to give the most chance of them being home when Naruto returned. Kakashi was perched on his tree above the stone bench of Bito, and Rin used to have their talks, and wondered how he would look. How much he had improved, and grown up. He was worried about how Naruto will come home to find out the boy he loved was officially engaged. Damned clan mentalities, Kakashi cursed. Jiraiya had released a new book a few months ago, so that kept Kakashi reassured that they were doing just fine if Jiraiya had time to write and publish a new book. Though that did put some worries for Naruto himself, Kakashi chuckled. Kakashi had looked for a new place for Naruto so he didn't have to worry coming home, and it was under Tsunade's name so the villagers could and would not destroy it. She had furniture and a bed with all bedding put in along with the appliances he needed. Kakashi would add his belongings to the place when Naruto returned. He smiled down at the keys in his palm. Hopefully he still has that ability to focus on the bright side, because he's going to be so excited about it, even if a little sad his old place was gone. People had missed him and Kakashi only wished he could see it because he knew even if it was few it would make him happy that there were people who wanted him home. Closing his eye he leant against the trunk and hoped that he'd be here sooner rather than later. You know, he'd be impressed to know you spent so much time worrying, Guy called, and the branch shook with the added weight. He knows already, he shrugged, opening his eye. There stood Guy grinning down at him with more energy than should be needed for such a small thing. I'm not in the mood for a challenge, Guy, Kakashi warned, and he laughed his obnoxious laugh that Kakashi had determined a long time ago was real. I have a favor to ask, he yelled, causing Kakashi to only raise his brow. What's that? I need a partner who can keep up with a sparring match. For the academy students. Kakashi rolled his eye. Guy, you don't need to go all put for that. They need to see the powerful youth of the Jonin. To the fullest extent there is. You do that, and you'll end up hurting one of them, or the building, he added, and at that Guy faltered as if that hadn't occurred to him. It probably didn't either, never thought the fun things through. You are right. He yelled, laughing once more. You don't need to check on me, guy, Kakashi said and saw the smile falter slightly. I have been just fine these last years, even stayed put and socialized, he pointed out. Sure, he probably spent 70% of his time on missions, but he thought that was good. And he was content with it because he kept his promise and had actually worked with Shikamaru quite a bit given his Chunin status. He wasn't always with Team 10. Or he was actually in the village learning with his father to become the next advisor. Sakura had been kept off long or high-ranked missions due to her training. I am waiting for the weight to get to you. Especially since it's not long low. Kakashi-sensei. A familiar voice called, making both men look down. Is everything okay, Sakura? He asked, sitting up. We got word from Naruto. He says he should be home within the month, she grinned widely. Their early guy stated, but Kakashi didn't care. He'd see Naruto soon. A month, that's all that was left. Better go tell the others, he nodded to her, and she whirled around and took off. He stood up, stretching. Where are you going? Guy asked. To speak to Shikaku. Something's bugging me, he said, taking off. Not knowing exactly when Naruto was returning was starting to stress the usually composed Nara. He was with Kakashi, as he had been all week, in hopes that Naruto would come to find one of them or Irika first, and not their friends. They stayed near the training ground closest to the gates. What if he sees Ino first? Or Kiba? He's a bigger gossip than Ino, and you know he would tell him. We can only hope he sees you first, and if he doesn't, all you have to do is explain. He will understand. I wish we could have wrote to him, Shikamaru groaned. Kakashi was glad his smile was hidden under his mask because he didn't doubt the boy would strangle him out of frustration. But the entire thing was hilarious to him. He had never seen him so anxious before. Naruto can sense us. If he feels for you as strongly as he did before he left, he will seek you out first. You don't have to worry, Kakashi said, only to see the boy look pained. What did he say? I've thought about that too. Another reason I'm nervous, he said. I put my foot in it, Kakashi thought upon realizing what he had said. There was no way to know if Naruto still has those feelings, or that he hadn't moved on to someone else. But Kakashi was sure that Naruto probably had those worries too. And Naruto was loyal, to a fault. He truly didn't think he would forget about Shikamaru, but he had no way to know that for sure. He didn't want to use that as a comfort and get Shikamaru's hopes up and have that highly unlikely scenario happen. He's probably thinking the same, Kakashi said, which made him groan and put his hands in his head. He wasn't very good at comforting this boy. And that's exactly what he's returning to. At the very least, it will seem like it. I wish I could talk to Choji and Ino about this. You'd tell her? Kakashi asked before he could stop himself. She has a right to know, he shrugged simply. That was true, but Shikamaru had kept his word and hadn't even told his father about the last conversation he and Naruto had. There was yelling from the distance and Kakashi couldn't help the smile. The voice was deeper, but it was his. The phrase loud enough to be heard a mile away was probably made for Naruto. Turning to find him only to hear shit from Shikamaru. Turning to follow his gaze, there was Naruto. With Sakura, Ino, and Choji. Look who we found at the gate, Sakura yelled, waving. Naruto came charging over, leaving the other three behind. He halted at Kakashi, and it had his eye widening at how he was almost as tall as him. And irrationally felt like he missed Naruto's childhood. Kakashi, he said excitedly, bouncing on the balls of his feet, you haven't changed a bit. I miss you, I'm almost as tall as you now. Kakashi felt as if something he couldn't place had been returned to him, and his body felt relaxed the more he heard him. Kakashi smiled, his eye closing as he put his hand on the still messy blonde head. It's good to have you home, he said, opening his eye. Naruto looked behind him, and his smile froze for a moment. Shimamaru! Wow, you got tall! He laughed, and ran over to him, measuring their heights. Hoped I'd be taller than you. Never happened, Shimamaru said, forcing his usual drawl out, but Kakashi noticed. Oh, we didn't tell you! Sakura said, pulling Ino over. Naruto turned to look at them. Ino blushed as she was pulled next to Shimamaru, smiling shyly. What? He asked, looking between them. Kakashi thought Shikamaru might throw up from the look on his face. Spending the week with his increasing anxiety over this, he knew the slight frown in his brow and tightness of his mouth was him panicking. Tell him. Sakura smiled, nudging them both. When Shikamaru failed to even respond, Ino cleared her throat and lifted her hand to show the ring band with the engraved Nara clan symbol. We're getting married? Naruto's eyes widened as he looked between them, his mouth falling open slightly. Forcing out a laugh and smiling, he shook his head. Wow! That great news! I didn't think any of us would be getting married this soon. Congratulations! Do I have to get a gift? 'Cause I'm broke. It's not for a while yet. Ino smiled, waving her hand dismissively. Oh good. Gives me time to think. Sakura, you'll help me, right? He asked, looking to her. She squinted at him for a moment before agreeing. He avoided looking at Shikamaru, and Kakashi could see the pain Shikamaru and Naruto were both trying to hide. How was training with a Sannin? Choji asked, stepping up. Hard, but amazing. He had jutsu I'd never heard of before. Naruto grinned. I've really improved though. Where are the others? On mission? Guy has his team training, so you probably won't see them till later, Kakashi said, and he pouted. Kiba, Shino, and Hinata are probably training on ground floor, Ino said. Cool, we should head over. I wanna see Kiba, Naruto said. He has been excited to see you again, Sakura said. Are you guys coming? He asked Team 10. We have our training. When Shikamaru isn't taking his own missions, we try to keep our teamwork sharp, Choji said. We can catch up later then, Ikarakus tonight? He asked, not even looking at Shikamaru. They nodded and he took off with Sakura. Shikamaru fell onto the floor and groaned. Fuck, he breathed. Just being near him wore you out, huh? Choji asked. Shikamaru looked at Kakashi in devastation. Something like that, he sighed. The catch-up with Team 8 ended in a spar between Kiba and Naruto, but Kakashi was both saddened and pleased. He could see the tightness in Naruto's smile, the way it didn't really meet his eyes. The way he hid how he really wanted to cry. Because as bad as he felt for Naruto, he was glad he could still see his true feelings. They caught up and Sakura had to go to work, then eventually Team 8 always left, so it was just Naruto and Kakashi. Anyone around? He asked softly, and Naruto shook his head, letting his shoulders fall before sitting on the grass. Didn't see it coming, he chuckled sadly. I feel stupid now. Putting his hand on his hip, Kakashi debated how much he should say. Because even after speaking to Shikaku, it became clear this was still Shikamaru's doing. You should talk to him, Kakashi said. What's to talk about? He is getting married. When is it? He asked. Ino wanted you to be here. She knew how close you and Shikamaru were, Kakashi said, so now you're home. I'm sure they'll make a date. He sighed. There's more to it. You should let him explain it. Do you just always know what's happening? Naruto asked. Are you shadowing the whole village like you do me? I promise to keep an eye on him, Kakashi shrugged. Does it bother you I'm watching you? No. Makes me feel cared about when you hover. Besides, if I wanted to hide something from you, I wouldn't talk about it, he answered, biting his lip, looking torn. Kakashi waited for him to work up to asking whatever it was. Is he happy? No, Kakashi deadpanned, and Naruto looked up confused. Go talk to him. I'm gonna come and spy anyway. He shrugged and disappeared. He could tell him about Team 7 later. This would only bother him if he didn't get the full story, and the test wasn't until he was settled anyway. He watched Naruto sit there worrying and being stubborn. But he knew he'd give in. He needed to. Kakashi could only hope he would do it sooner rather than out it off. After an hour had passed, Naruto got up and stalked off toward the Hokage Tower. He reunited with Tsunade, who gave him keys and told him to ask Kakashi to show him his new place. He then went to the academy and saw Irika for a while. After that he looked towards the Nara forest and took off. Kakashi kept his distance, until it looked like he was actually heading to the forest, and not Shikamaru's. He was mid-jump when Naruto halted at the edge. Landing next to him, Kakashi sighed. You worried me then. It's been too long for me to just go in, he said. You've been in alone before? Kakashi asked, surprised, and was only answered with a nod. Silence stretched out for a while. Why are you here? I feel like if I can still go and I have some connection to hold on to, does that make sense? I get it. But you do, he cut off as a giant stag as tall as himself approached. Kakashi had never seen one of the deer, but it seemed intelligent, like it was reading into your soul. It made him feel exposed until it turned to Naruto and slowly bowed its head down to nudge his hands and stomp its front hoof before pushing his hip. Naruto laughed and took its face in his hands. I know, he smiled. I'm sorry it's been so long. He scratched its ear, and after a bit of a fuss he looked back to Kakashi. This is Kakashi, he said, and it stood back up to his full height. He knows not to come in, he's just keeping me company. You sure got big, he sighed, and the stag huffed, shaking its head. Do they talk to you? Kakashi asked, wondering how this worked. Oh no, it's like I can grasp what they want, I just talk back. Shikamaru thought it was something from Kurama. The animals being the way they are with me. Kakashi nodded. He had thought that too. But not to this extent. I'll come in soon, Naruto chuckled as the stag pulled on his sleeve forcefully. I haven't even introduced myself back to the village. It'd be rude to come in without getting permission from Shikaku. The stag only pulled harder. Soon, he said, pushing its head playfully, promise. It let him go and looked to Kakashi again, and he would swear that it nodded to him before leaving. Think he likes you, Naruto nudged, and they stepped back from the forest. Naruto tensed and sighed next to him. Naruto. Kakashi nodded as he turned to see Shikamaru approaching and made himself scarce. Neither spoke, they avoided each other's eyes, and Kakashi shook his head, glad he never had this issue. I didn't want you to be ambushed with it like that, Shikamaru finally said, and Naruto sighed. Well, hey, not my place to get upset about it, he said, forcing cheer into his voice. I really hope. Don't do that, Shikamaru said, stepping closer, which in turn had Naruto stepping back. Don't pretend. I saw your face, you aren't okay with this. Did you think I would be? Naruto asked, dropping his facade. I worried you would. 3 years is a long time, Shikamaru shrugged, but it's not. I didn't ask her. It's a clan thing, he sighed, and Naruto looked up sharply, anger simmering beneath him. So Shikamaru sighed, holding his hands up, and shook his head. Dad was ready to fight it. Believe me. And I don't think Inoichi would need much convincing, but... What? I told him to leave it be. We aren't in a rush to have to get married. I couldn't fight it without giving them a reason, he ended. Because I said not to tell anyone, he nodded. I understood why, he shrugged. I still do. If the Akatsuki discovered just how important Shikamaru was to Naruto, any fight would be over. They could try to rescue him, but Naruto would not be stopped. He would go with them. So there's nothing. Not even a bit. Shikamaru said she isn't too happy with it either, but she has no reason to fight it. She hoped I would. It was like a switch went off in him. He straightened up and smiled at Shikamaru properly for the first time. The catch-up went well, and Naruto had eaten his fill. Tucci had even given him some free bowls to say welcome home. Kakashi had taken him to his new apartment, and he stood in the entryway, mouth hanging open as he looked around. It was a great improvement from his apartment, I was true. Tsunade made more of an effort to make sure his accommodations were up to standard, and allowed Kakashi to find a reasonably priced home with a lovely landlady. It would be a big change for him. Think Grandma gave me the wrong keys, Naruto mumbled as he took another step. No, this is the place. Picked it myself, Kakashi chuckled, kicking off his sandals. Need to stock up on food and cleaning supplies. Now you're home, but everything else is ready. He moved to look around. Having more than 2 rooms must be a little jarring for him. Everything was separate for him, his bed on its own room instead of behind his living space and next to his kitchen. In fact, even they were separated by a breakfast bar. Are you sure this is okay? Naruto asked, causing Kakashi to turn to the hallway leading to the bedroom and bathroom. And I'm not sure I can afford this. It's a good price. We made sure it's affordable, don't worry. But Kakashi, I could barely afford my last place when the old man died, he said, which was news to Kakashi. What are you talking about? The payments on the apartment were to continue until you turn 16, Kakashi said. He began to feel uneasy the way Naruto's face frowned in confusion. Naruto, were you paying rent? Well, yeah. I'd become a ninja and had a job. The landlord said that meant I would be paying from then on. The allowance helped, but he looked sad. Damned landlord pocketed the rent and made Naruto suffer with making him pay. No wonder he wasn't bothered about the fire. He made a fortune. The rare flare of anger made its way up, and Kakashi had a hard time keeping himself calm, yet again thankful he had his mask and headband covering most of his face because he wasn't sure he'd hide it well. This made sense about how he wanted to always have higher-ranked missions, not to show off but to pay for his home. Annoyed at himself, how did he miss this? He was going to find that damned landlord tomorrow and inform Tsunade. In the transfer of power, the elders seemed to have neglected to tell her everything. Don't worry, this isn't the same, Kakashi assured him. The rent is reasonable and it's in Tsunade's name. Nobody is going to try anything here, Kakashi said. Get some sleep. We have a big day tomorrow, he said softly. I'll drop by with breakfast. Naruto nodded and Kakashi disappeared. Sakura and Naruto stood in the clearing. Tsunade had suggested an isolated area. Tsunade and Jiraiya stood in the brush of the trees a distance away. Kakashi wondered what they had taught them for them to push for such a big space for a simple test. They worked together much better than they had 5 years ago. And it concerned Kakashi how they did it without even using jutsu. All it took was for Naruto to start talking about the ending to the next Ika Ika book. As a seasoned ninja, he was a little disappointed in himself for falling for it, but also proud that Naruto had taken the initiative to use it against him. But before resorting to that cheap shot, they had brought him to the need of his Sharingan, which he had not expected. Not to mention how far Sakura had come. She didn't hide, she stayed strong and even found him. Granted, by demolishing the area. Tsunade had made a replica of herself. It was a little terrifying. The team was set up and waiting for a new mission. Kakashi suspected that Tsunade was giving Naruto time to settle at home. She looked at him across her desk, fist under her chin. He will be fine, Kakashi said, and she nodded. I don't doubt that. But he's been through a lot, and after hearing about his living situation, I want him to settle in a bit. See, it's not the same. It is a shame you weren't Hokage after Minato and Kushina died. I truly believe his life would have been much different. Were you here? Kakashi said, and the woman actually blushed. Nonsense. Jiraiya would have been better. She waved her free hand dismissively. She didn't take praise, what Kakashi noted, and before he could speak a bird landed on the desk, sand spewing everywhere. It flapped and squawked, agitated and scared. Kakashi caught it in his hand so Tsunade could take the message clearly from Suna. Before he could take a step, Tsunade gasped. Shizen! She yelled and then focused on Kakashi. This wasn't good. The Kazekage has been kidnapped. The Akatsuki have made their move, she said. He released the bird. You know he will want to go. It'll be walking right into their hands. I cannot. He won't forgive you if you send someone else. Shikamaru would be best. The intel he would catch alone would be sick. She cut off at the look of Kakashi tensing and clenching his fists. Is it wise I send him? She asked carefully, and Kakashi only shook his head. Shizen ran in. Go. Immediately, we will send others to come help the injured, she ordered, and Kakashi nodded and left for his team. He was excited to work with them again, especially since they got on much better now. But with it being Gaara, this wasn't going to be an easy mission, he thought. The trip to the sand was long and Naruto was agitated. He couldn't get there faster. They had no way of knowing what they would arrive to. Other than Gaara being gone and they were days behind, there wasn't any word on the village itself. But it was finally in sight, and it was like Naruto had an emergency supply of energy that he used to charge forward ahead while Kakashi and Sakura fell behind. Naruto! Sakura yelled. Don't just, she cut off, clicking her tongue. Hasn't changed a bit, she huffed, but Kakashi didn't miss the smile she tried to hide. Arriving was worse than they had feared. Many were in the hospital dying from a poison none of the medical staff knew how to cure, Kankuro included. Temari had not long made it home either, so the girl was taking control and trying to keep her people calm. All the while likely internally falling apart. These two were her little brothers. I'm fine. She snapped at Naruto, who glared at her whilst taking her hand and dragging her into an empty room in the hospital. You want to help, I get that, and you have a role, but you need to let this out now, otherwise you could fall apart at the wrong time, Naruto said, closing the blinds to the room. I can't. She choked out. You can. Right now with me, just do what you need, scream, cry, hit something, hit me. But get it out now. Kakashi was impressed. Most ninja would expect her to keep going until the mission or target is achieved, herself included. But of course Naruto didn't agree. Now was a perfect time since they needed to speak to Kankuro before they could do much, and with Sakura getting the information she needs there was nothing to do. My brothers! She sobbed. I wasn't here, and she cut off and muffled sobs came from the room. Kakashi imagined Naruto had hugged her. Sakura will save Kankuro, just watch, she was trained by the best. And I will bring Gaara home. Whatever it takes, I'll get him back, Naruto said with such conviction Kakashi believed it. Even when the logic said it was unlikely. Kakashi moved on to watch Sakura giving Temari and Naruto some time. This wasn't a time to shadow him. Sakura was amazing, and she had worked out the poison and made a cure herself. The staff were amazed, and she quickly had them make a batch and administered the cure to the poisoned people. Never thought I would be glad poison was slow acting. Before Naruto laughed nervously when Kankuro was sat up and alert. They had found Gaara and the fights were difficult. Kakashi was exhausted and needed to be in a hospital, but he kept himself up against Sakura as they said their goodbyes to the Sand siblings. He was proud of Sakura. She had held her own, and it was the first time he didn't feel the need to stick close and protect her as he had in the past. She had even bested and killed a S-class rogue with the help of Chio. As they headed home with Naruto carrying him, he felt his consciousness fading. I'm very proud of you too, he said softly, a goofy smile under his mask. They'd grown up into fine ninja, and he felt it was only just the beginning of what he would come to see from them. Kakashi felt as though he couldn't move, stood immobile as he watched on in horror as Naruto fell to his knees in front of a man who had no face but wore the Akatsuki cloak. The leader he somehow knew. Itachi, Kisame, and other faceless members stood beside him. Naruto had his head down, hands on the floor, looking awfully defeated. The power in the air was palpable, and Kakashi could barely keep his feet under him. What was happening? How did he get here? He didn't feel hurt, not physically. Naruto! He yelled, but the blonde only shook his head, bowing lower. Then Kakashi saw over his shoulder, on their knees, hair held tightly by the faceless leader. Shikamaru. He was bleeding, looking at Naruto with desperation, trying to reach out to him as if the blade in his side meant nothing. "Get up!" he yelled. "I will go," Naruto said, voice quiet, so quiet that Kakashi didn't think he heard him. "Let him go. Leave him be." He put his head to the ground and Kakashi looked on in horror as the many faces of his comrades lay ahead, nobody alive. It was just them three. He knew Naruto would lose his mind if they took the Nara too. "Without a fight," a deep voice said, and Naruto nodded, while Shikamaru fought against the grip in him, trying to reach Naruto with all the strength he had. "No! No, Naruto, you can't!" he yelled. Naruto sat up onto his knees and looked back to Kakashi apologetically. "I'm sorry, Kakashi," he whispered and leant forward to put his head on Shikamaru's, his hand taking his face. "Go, get away from here and stay alive. You don't need to see this. Kakashi, get him out of here," he said. Naruto stood next to the Akatsuki and Shikamaru was in his arms, struggling to get back to Naruto. Kakashi tensed his hold, tightening. His body felt like stone as Naruto's eyes widening, turning red. His mouth opened, his jaw breaking as blood-red chakra forced its way up his son's throat. The higher it went, the more like the nightmare of 17 years ago it became. The power took the air away, making Kakashi's lungs set fire before the monster's head came and turned his vision black. He woke up with a gasp, his eye unfocused as his breathing came out in fast, short breaths. He couldn't move, and the panic woke up and the yell halted in his throat at the flash of bright blonde to his right came into view. Blinking and trying to focus, he felt dizzy at the relief of Naruto smiling down above his head. "Hey! You're awake! Took your time, you know!" he half yelled, and Kakashi relaxed against the bed but still couldn't move. His left eye throbbed and his body felt like lead, but his insides felt like they were on fire, while every muscle ached. "When did we get home?" he croaked out, his throat dry. "Yesterday. You passed out 4 days ago. Sakura treated you as we ran. Tsunade did the rest," he told him lightly, putting the side of his fist on his chest. "Scared me. Why didn't you say that Kamui took up so much chakra?" "Thought I had enough." "Yeah, well, next time you pull this, I'll kick your ass back into hospital once you recovered, got it?" he threatened, and Kakashi nodded. "Water?" he asked, and Naruto stood up to get the cup. He removed the mask and lifted his head, slowly pouring the water to his lips. He quickly replaced the mask, chuckling and shaking his head. "What?" he asked, smirking up at him. Naruto truly was the best medicine. His attitude was so positive, and his cheerful idiocy never failed to bring someone out of their gloom, even when they were uncomfortable, aching, and a little shook up from a nightmare. "Sakura is going to lose it when she finds out I have seen you without the mask." Kakashi would have laughed if he didn't think it would cause him pain. Memories of them as kids working as a team for the first and only time off mission, and it was to see under the mask. Even if Naruto had seen it a few times by that point. "You still haven't told her?" he asked, knowing he went along with it back then so he could do something with them. "Never had the chance. Maybe now we're friends I could. I wouldn't suggest showing her though." Kakashi frowned and regretted it as pain shot behind his eyes. "And why not?" "Man, you are beyond good looking. I think Sasuke would be forgotten if she gets one look at you," he laughed. This had Kakashi confused. Was he? He'd never thought about it. He didn't want to say how that might be a good thing for her if she moved on. He knew it would still be a touchy subject, but he would stand by them and try to get him back. He could only hope Sasuke wasn't too far gone to be saved. But he would be lying if he didn't wish Sakura would give her heart to someone who deserved it. He'd even gone as far to tell Guy he approved of Lee for her, and wished him luck in his pursuit. "I'll remember that," he said. "I'll call her in, she's on shift." She was worried too, he said. "Sorry," Kakashi croaked, and Naruto stood up to leave. While he was alone, he wondered what his dream was. He still felt like his lungs were on fire, not as severe, but they burned. He knew of only 4 members and 2 are now dead. Hoping that would be enough to slow them down some. Gaara lost Shikaku, but they lost 2 powerful members. But with the likes of Itachi, Kakashi worried there were stronger with them. Not having any names or faces had bothered him, but now it made him nervous. Just who was after all the tailed beasts? They had to be powerful to even try such a thing and lead so many missing Nin, who were no doubt responsible for atrocities similar if not worse than Itachi. The dream felt like a bad omen and Kakashi couldn't shake it. Being refrained from leaving to help with the mission to meet Sasori's spy had Kakashi seething. Once awake and together, Sakura gave the information she was given and that they could meet the spy at the Tenchi Bridge. They had to act fast if they were to meet them, as Sasori gave them 3 weeks. Making his team up with Yamato was a comfort. He could watch Naruto and contain any of Kurama's chakra if needed. He trusted Yamato. He did not trust the kid from Root. How Danzo had snaked his way in, Kakashi didn't know. But Yamato knew what they did. He wasn't blinded like others, so Kakashi could only hope that he would pick up on any threat to Naruto. This is ridiculous, Kakashi said as the team had left. Tsunade looked to him and sighed. I can move now. I should be with them. But your chakra is still extremely low. So stop complaining. If something happened to Naruto at the hands of that root ninja, I cannot be held responsible for my actions, Kakashi warned. There came Jireya's voice from the window. Poor Tsunade looked very stressed, stood between the two men. He decided to sit back and try to be patient. But he was annoyed. Naruto had just come home. He just got him back. Upon their return, Kakashi could see that it did not go well. Sakura was tucked under Naruto's arm, and he looked exhausted while Sai and Yamato walked behind with somber expressions. You had no luck? Kakashi asked softly. Oh, we found him, Naruto said, his eyes suddenly burning with rage while Sakura sobbed and held him tightly. What happened? Kakashi asked, and Naruto sighed. He's lost it. I don't know who that was, but it wasn't Sasuke. He tried to kill her, for real, there was no hesitation, he said, and at that Sakura turned her head into Naruto's neck. He also tried to kill you, Sai put in, but Naruto shrugged. Let's get you to Tsunade, Kakashi said, leading them in. He had gone that far? He never cared for them, but he didn't want to hurt them, even jumped to help Naruto in serious fights. To be so far as to kill your old teammates, Kakashi sighed and wondered if this is what Itachi wanted from his younger brother. They sat in the office, and after the report, Suwanda was speechless. Naruto? Sakura said, her voice cracking. He looked to her and nodded. I want you to forget that promise. But you made it for me, right? She asked. Yeah, and I don't want it anymore. He can become a rogue, he can get his revenge. I don't care. I don't want him anywhere near me ever again. Her eyes were hard and she clenched the desk tightly. Kakashi felt bad for her, but he was proud of her. She understood she deserved better. She put up with his rejection and comments, but he had now essentially raised his hand to her, in the worst way. Do not bring him anywhere near me. The last part sounded like a plea, and he stepped to her. Are you sure? He asked. He tried to kill us. You know he would have if you didn't react as fast as you did. She smacked his chest. But Sai had to save you because you just stood there. She looked angry. I'm not bothered about me. I promised to bring him home for you. If you are sure, absolutely certain you want me to stop, I will. But you're upset right now. I'm seeing clearly. You have always said he wasn't right for me. I see that now. So, please? Naruto, I am asking you, forget the promise, and keep him away from me, she said, desperately clutching his jacket. You got it, he said without hesitation. No promise I got to keep, and he wrapped his arms around her and looked to Kakashi and Tsunade, clearly worried. Then we need to declare him a rogue, Tsunade said. He will have no protection, Naruto said. The only reason he hadn't been made one earlier was because you two asked it, and I stood by it, Tsunade said calmly, but I was ready to do it the day you almost died. We were foolish children, Sakura set her head on Naruto's shoulder. I'm sorry for causing you trouble with it. Tsunade waved her hands dismissively. Naruto? Tsunade asked. He looked torn, but one look at Sakura's head he nodded. Understood, he nodded. He looked. Kakashi guessed Sai is our new teammate, he smiled. You two are dismissed, Tsunade said, and the teenagers left with Naruto still holding the pink hair kunoichi protectively. Are you okay with this? She asked him, and Kakashi nodded. It needs to be done. And perhaps this was the best path. They learned for themselves why we originally tried to. And it was possible the closure they needed to move on from the loss of him. But not you? She asked, and Kakashi smiled under his mask. I got mine a long time ago, he said, and left. 2 months later. It was official that Sasuke was a wanted rogue, and the Konoha citizens were furious. Many of the ninja weren't surprised, however, and wanted this outcome 3 years ago. They took it personal that Sasuke had defected to the man who cost Lord Third his life. Sakura had spent a week locked away in her home, but after that she came back head held high. Ino had taken the news badly, but being sent on a mission soon after hadn't been able to ask why. She returned yesterday and came charging up to Kakashi and his students with poor Shikamaru and Choji in tow. What happened? I thought you guys were stopping him being made rogue? This can't happen, she yelled, and Naruto narrowed his eyes at her while he shielded Sakura slightly from Ino. We aren't trying to bring him home, Naruto said. You're breaking your promise? Ino asked harshly, which had Shikamaru stepping forward. I took it back, Sakura said. I don't want him here. Near me, she said through clenched teeth. But it is Sasuke. Ino yelled and Sakura stood up tall. You have a fiancé who has stood right behind you. It's very inconsiderate of you to get worked up over your childhood crush like he isn't there. And Sasuke is not worth it, she said before turning to Naruto. I'm gonna go get ready, she said sweetly, and he nodded. You don't need to change, you looked great, he said and shook his head. Have a nice time, he waved. Why is she dressed up? Kakashi asked. She has a date, he grinned. A date? Ino yelled. With who? What about Sasuke? I don't understand. Sasuke tried to kill her, Ino gasped, her hands shooting to her mouth. Would have too if I didn't act when I did. She says she deserves better and is trying to forget him. So I'd like it if you stopped bringing him up. Oh my god, she whispered, but he's gone, Naruto said softly. I know he meant a lot to you, but he's changed, and if I dragged him home he wouldn't be the guy you knew. She means it. She doesn't want to be near him again. He leant forward, his hands on his knees, and Kakashi was surprised by his seriousness. Don't force her to love him if she doesn't. Nobody deserves that, and Ino blinked, stepping back slightly, and looked to Shikamaru, who only shook his head. Kakashi had to bite his lip to stop the laugh. Naruto got sneaky, he thought, using her feeling against her and pointing out that she and Shikamaru were in the same predicament. Kakashi tapped Naruto's shoulder, causing the boy to lean back and look up to him. I wasn't aware of a date. Naruto grinned widely, and it caused the four ninja to look at him curiously. Who is she going on a date with? Choji asked. Lee, he yelled, the grin never leaving his face. Kakashi nodded and felt happy for the kid. He'd tried for years to catch her attention, and now she had let go of her obsession. It seemed as though he had succeeded. Good for him, Kakashi said while Ino stood there with her mouth hanging wide. Lee. Kakashi decided it was a good time to leave them to their gossip. I'll meet you later, training with Yamato, he reminded him, and Naruto nodded. I'll be there, he said. The training was going to be a lot, but using the clones did seem to speed it along. So here they were in a secluded spot with 1,000 Narutos trying to master the leaf. Yamato had set up his spot in case Kurama's chakra began to leak out through the cracks that Naruto and Jiraiya had made in loosening the seal. By the second day, Yamato had created the waterfall. Naruto's job was to split it. The idea of completing a jutsu the fourth Hokage couldn't complete was all the motivation he needed. If only he could know it was his own father he would surpass. Sakura had come with food, pills, and lunch to keep him going. Day 8 and the chakra began leaking out, and before Yamato could react, Naruto sat down and closed his eyes. It shocked both A and Bu enough to watch and see the cloak recede and Naruto to sigh and open his eyes with a grin. Yamato looked at Kakashi with wide eyes. Jiraiya had been scarred by Kurama, so Kakashi assumed it was out of control. He hadn't asked Naruto if Kurama had spoken to him more since leaving. Perhaps now he should. Naruto jumped down and took an apple from the basket Sakura had dropped off earlier. Think we should take a break, he sighed, plopping onto the floor. Yamato lowered his hand and nodded. Sure. Take 10, Kakashi ordered, and Yamato left without question. How is it with you and Kurama? Kakashi asked. You remembered his name? Naruto smiled. It's okay. He's not so mean anymore. Goes from being okay with the situation to wanting out and fighting it. I think he likes me but is hiding it. Naruto grinned. Oh really? He asked, amused. So what happened? He asked, pointing to the waterfall. My chakra is low, I was frustrated. He explained it once, but I didn't really get it. So he wasn't trying to take over? Kakashi asked, and Naruto shook his head, biting into his apple. Kakashi wondered if they needed to worry so much? Or if they weren't worried enough. For at least 3 years they have been communicating. It was entirely plausible that it was Kurama trying to trick him, but then again, it was as equally plausible that he had come to care for Naruto. Yamato returned and Kakashi felt his stomach twist. Something was wrong. Naruto stood up and they both waited for Yamato to reach them. Asuma Sarutobi has been killed in action, he said softly. Kakashi felt his heart become heavy as yet another friend had been lost. Naruto, however, had stood there, eyes wide and holding Kakashi's wrist tightly. How? He asked. They fought Akatsuki members. They? What about the rest of the team? They're okay, a few injuries, but they are understandably upset, Yamato said. Kakashi. Go, he said, and Naruto was gone. The boy was fast. He thought we will stop training today, he said to Yamato. Naruto made it across the village in a speed Kakashi didn't know he was capable of. Following Shikamaru's chakra, no doubt. It took Kakashi a minute to catch up, but when he did, he saw Ino and Choji outside the Hokage building. They were a mess, some bruises here and there, but both Chunin had red eyes and a look of utter defeat. This was their first loss, and this was a look and feeling every ninja would come to know. He looked up to the roof, feeling Naruto's chakra settle. "I'm sorry," Kakashi said softly, landing next to the duo. Neither reacted for a while, and then Ino twisted her engagement ring round and looked to the roof. "He hasn't said anything," she whispered. "He was closest with Choji," trailed off. "Give him some time," Kakashi said. "Naruto took him, he just leant against him and let him take him," Ino said, frowning. "They are close," Choji said softly. "I'm his fiancé and teammate. I show." "Don't take it personally," Kakashi said. "He's your leader. We tend to not want to break down on people who look up to us." They both looked at each other and nodded. "He'll need time," Kakashi emphasized. "Then he will come to us," Choji nodded. He put his arm over Ino and led her away, only to stop at Sai. "I am sorry for your loss," he said smoothly, and looked to Ino. "I am sure I won't help very well, but I am here if you need anything." Ino cried, stepping forward to hug Sai, who hesitantly hugged her back. Well, this is a surprise, Kakashi thought. He hadn't seen that coming. He jumped up to the ledge at the Hokage's level, waiting for Naruto. Shikamaru was crying. Naruto appeared in front of him, a clone. "I don't need a shadow right now," he said solemnly, and Kakashi nodded. "All right. I'll be back to training tonight. Something tells me I'm gonna need to get it soon." He looked to the roof. "That promise still stand?" "Absolutely," Kakashi said and left. 3 days later, as predicted, Shikamaru and his team attempted to leave. Convincing Tsunade to let him go ahead with them was easier than he had anticipated. Now it was up to Sakura to convince Tsunade to let them follow and Naruto to perfect the jutsu. He had made progress, but it still wasn't done. The motivation to follow would be enough, Kakashi was sure. He had worked with Shikamaru before, and still he was taken aback by how well he had planned the attack, and how smoothly he accommodated Kakashi being unexpectedly put on the team. He trusted this kid's mind more than most older ninjas, so he wasn't going to interfere and pull rank on this. They needed this, and it was their show. So he would assist where he could. The fight was longer than he liked, but the fact Kakaza had so many hearts made it unavoidable. The fight had ended and Nero was being treated by Ino, who looked a little freaked out. He imagined it was more than her expertise and hoped Sakura would return soon. The moment she was done, Naruto was trying to stand. "Take it easy," Kakashi ordered, and Naruto glared at him, his eyes still possessing Kurama's shape. He sighed and knelt down. "Is he in range?" he asked gently, causing Naruto's anger to disappear to be replaced by focus. When he saw his shoulder relax, Kakashi knew Naruto had found him and was satisfied he was okay. "His chakra is low, but he is with the others," he said quietly. Kakashi held out his hand and Naruto took it. Helping him to stand, they headed in that direction. Naruto's right arm hung limp at his side, and it concerned Kakashi. It didn't take too long for them to meet up, and the uncanny ability Naruto had to make energy appear hit, and he left Kakashi's support and ran to Shikamaru. "You look awful," he yelled, overly cheerful, and Shikamaru glared at him. "You look worse," he grumbled as Ino came over and wrapped her arm around him. "He's fine. Just overdid it a bit," Sakura said, stepping to Naruto, her hands glowing as she inspected his condition. One looked at his arm, she shook her head and put her hands on her hips. "It's a good thing I learned medical jutsu," she huffed, and Naruto laughed nervously. "Sorry, Sakura. Can you get home okay?" she asked, and he nodded, and she looked to Kakashi, hands raised to inspect him too. He smiled and held his hand up, but she leveled him with a stony gaze that told him not to push her as she swatted his hand down. Shaking it out, he let her do her work. "You need treatment too," she sighed. "Honestly, you too." She sounded annoyed, but Kakashi saw the smile she was hiding. Approaching the gates, Lee was there. "Sakura, my love, are you all right?" he yelled, running over, and she laughed nervously as he got close. Kakashi was expecting him to knock right into her at the speed he used, but he stopped and gently took her face in his bandaged hands. "I heard it was Akatsuki, and I worried," he said softly, that everyone had looked a little confused. Kakashi shook his head, exactly like Guy. They could be quiet when they needed. Sakura blushed, putting her hand over his left. "I'm just fine, I didn't need to fight." Her tone was calm and happy. One Kakashi hadn't seen before. He took that to mean things were going well, but 3 morons over there decided to overdo it, and now we are heading to the hospital. "I don't think I am that bad," Kakashi said cheerfully, and she only glared. He pressed his lips together and decided to shut up before she punched him. She didn't have the best bedside manners to those she cared for. Lee kissed the corner of her mouth and smiled at her. "All right then," he said loudly, stepping away, taking a look at Naruto, who was barely standing, and lifted him over his shoulder and ran into the village. Lee! Watch his arm! Sakura yelled, chasing after them. Yamato looked a little horrified while Sai stood close to Ino, frowning. You'll get used to it, she told them both. Come on, you two, we better follow Choji? I'll go tell Tsunade where you are. Won't be far behind you. Naruto took the news he couldn't use Raisin Shuriken again well. It had really shown Kakashi how much he had grown. Even if he was still itching to get out the hospital when he was told to stay put. Kakashi had resorted to asking Shikamaru to come distract him and get him to stay put. So they set up a shogi board on the meal tray, and that's what they were doing while Kakashi sat on the wall outside the window. You going to be okay now? Naruto asked softly, and Shikamaru nodded. I will be, but it definitely helped and I got some closure. I wish you hadn't gone off alone. When I got there and you weren't there, I thought. This wasn't your fight, Naruto, he said. That's not the point. Naruto snapped. I thought you were dead. I barely held it together to wait for the update on what we were up against. Barely heard it because I thought you were already dead. His voice shook and Kakashi felt his heart ache for him. He could understand how he would have jumped to that conclusion. He wasn't in the immediate area. It was the best course of action, Shikamaru said softly. Come on, thought you had more faith in me. I do. But fear is a hell of a lot stronger when you're going up against people killing Jinchuriki and stealing tailed beasts like they're just another opponent, Naruto sighed. Hey, nothing is going to happen to me because of those guys, okay? My fight with them is done. Seeing and hearing how people worry made Kakashi glad he never fell in love. It was painful to watch when they lost their partner, like Kurenai right now. He saw it in Rin when Obito died, a part of her died that day, and she could never look Kakashi in the eye when his Sharingan was uncovered. He never commented on it because he didn't want her to feel guilty. But unlike Kakashi, she didn't distance herself. If anything, she stuck to him more, and kept him from falling into the darkness completely. Until he killed her. He figured whether she had died by his hand or not, he would have likely ended up the same. He knew deep down he didn't actually kill her, he did. He just refused to let that go. He had promised Obito, knowing exactly what she meant to him, that he would protect her. And it ended up being his hands that ended her life. I guess I shouldn't get worked up, Naruto said, pulling Kakashi from his thoughts. I don't really have a right to. Don't, Shikamaru cut in. Come on. Who are we trying to fool? I had to stop myself from, he growled, and Kakashi decided to take a peek. Naruto was shaking his head, clutching his hair tightly. This isn't fair, he sighed. Shikamaru pushed the tray aside and moved close to Naruto, putting his face in his hands and making him look at him. Don't give up, he said. I'm not going to. Anna, Shikamaru interrupted, and Naruto's mouth fell open slightly. Okay, the only thing keeping me going is at the end of this we have a shot. Naruto laughed weakly. You're getting married? There is no. It's not a time for a wedding, Shikamaru said grimly. I don't want one right now, and I doubt Ino would either. He shook his head. We have time. I may not, Naruto said. I'll fight with everything I have, but let's face it, I may not, and you need to accept that. Kakashi felt like someone was squeezing his heart. That was not what he ever wanted to hear. He took comfort on the fact that he didn't seem to actually be giving up, but he was stating something that deep down they all knew was a possibility they were denying. He had just surpassed his father, he just needed more training. Between now and when they would come for him. Kakashi sagged against the wall looking out to the village. He needed to train with Jiraiya more, which meant maybe leaving again. When would he be able to stay home? When does this threat end? Kakashi stood in Naruto's bathroom, both men drenched from the broken pipe that had burst. He stared at Naruto, eye wide, in the ridiculous urge to laugh at his face. Maybe you should have stayed at the hospital, Kakashi teased, half-heartedly scratching at his chin. Naruto glared up at him and flicked his cheek. This isn't funny, Kakashi. He pouted. It's a little funny. You got out not even 12 hours ago, he smiled, and Naruto rolled his eyes and lifted the mask back up. Kakashi chuckled and pulled it back down. Okay. Sorry. We just need to call the lab lady to get her plumber in. We at least turned the water off, so that should be all we need to do for now. Okay, a plumber, I can do that, landlady, he nodded, looking a little lost. What? You don't have a plumber? Kakashi asked carefully. I did, but he didn't want to do my place. I think I might have the same problem with this building's plumber, he shrugged. I told you before, this isn't going to be the same, Kakashi said softly, leaning forward to be eye level with him and put his hand on his shoulder. We know better now, and we made sure it wouldn't be a problem, he reassured Naruto. He didn't look too convinced, but he nodded his head and straightened up. Okay, I'll go get her, he trailed off and frowned. Who is my landlady? He asked, and Kakashi laughed. That's right, I didn't tell you. Mabuki Haruno, he said, and Naruto's face went blank. She wanted to make sure you had a place to stay, so she bought this place and rented it out. She's made up. Apparently renting the place has already given her half her investment. Kakashi shrugged. Why would she do that? Naruto asked, his voice weak, eyes glossed over, not really focusing on the room. You've saved her daughter countless times. You forgave her poor treatment of you without hesitation. She appreciated that, Kakashi explained, and Naruto blinked a few times before his eyes seemed to focus. Really? A small smile came to his lips, and it made Kakashi happy that an adult had finally dropped their prejudice and seen Naruto even a little. He seemed a little less worried about calling on her for the pipe, at least. Naruto went to get changed, handing Kakashi a towel and a mask. It didn't cover his neck like he was used to, but it was better than his drenched one. He wasn't on mission and truly didn't want to breathe through a wet mask. Is it just habit now? Naruto asked, stopping in the doorway. It's like a part of me. I'd feel a little naked without it, he shrugged, plus I'm so famous it helps to have a face nobody has seen before for the stealthy missions. He hadn't planned it that way, but he supposed he was just lucky. He wondered if Obito had thought his gift would make Kakashi so well known. Or if he had known it would have kept him alive for as long as he had been. He couldn't count how many times it was the reason he survived the many battles he had been in. Naruto nodded and went into his room. Kakashi used the towel to try to dry his hair as best he could. It was so thick he didn't have much hope it would make much difference. There was a knock at the front door. Kakashi put the mask on and went to answer it. Kakashi. Sakura smiled, Sai next to her. What happened? She asked, eyes widening. A pipe burst, he said, pointing over his shoulder with his thumb, stepping aside so they could enter. We were about to come see your mom, Naruto said, coming out with damp hair but dry clothes. Sakura only stared at Kakashi, squinting at him. He wondered what had her so focused until her fingers brushed his neck and he tensed from the foreign contact. Where is your usual mask? She asked. It got soaked, he said, pulling on the fabric around his neck. Her eyes narrowed and then she was glaring at Naruto. Have you seen his face? She asked calmly. It was so calm, in fact, Kakashi felt a little worried for Naruto. Taking a big step back, looked to Naruto sympathetically. Well, yeah, kinda, he laughed nervously, scratching the back of his head. Kinda? She asked. Yeah, I have, he sagged his shoulders. That is so unfair. She yelled. When did you see? When we were 12, he admitted hesitantly, and her jaw most definitely would have hit the floor if it could. You mean all this time and you knew? She yelled, looking furious. You were the one who convinced us to try and get a look. He hesitated, and as if she understood it was going to be upsetting, she relaxed and stepped up to him. Remember, be honest with me, she said softly, and he nodded. I just wanted us to do something together, outside of missions and training. He shrugged nervously, and her face fell as pain and regret became obvious. Well, still, it's been years. She huffed, and he nodded. I know, he said, and she whirled on Kakashi. Can I see? She asked, face beaming with excitement. No! Naruto yelled. Sakura, you can't, you have Lee. Naruto. So? She asked, frowning at him. He is beyond good looking, okay. Can't risk you falling in love with him. She rolled her eyes. That is ridiculous, she said. I would not fall for Kakashi by one look of his face. She laughed, but it sounded a little nervous as she eyed him curiously. In any case, we need to go see your mother right now. Perhaps discuss this on the way, Kakashi said, gesturing to the door. They nodded and headed out, Naruto last and locking the door. I must admit I am curious to see under your mask too, Sai put in, and Kakashi nodded. Most are, he told the boy. From what he had been told, Sai had no social cues, and he does seem harmless so far. Kakashi still didn't trust him. Yamato explained that Sai is like a baby, he had no feeling or understanding of them, and Sakura had made it her mission to help him with it. Naruto was going to have to stay at Kakashi's place for a few days while they fixed the pipe. Kakashi didn't mind in the slightest. It also gave him the opportunity to talk about what he had meant. He worried Naruto was giving up the dream he had, and he still couldn't shake it, and then hearing Naruto say he thought there was a chance he wouldn't make it was more than a little concerning to him. So after dinner they sat down and Naruto sighed. Okay, what is it? He asked. Not as mysterious as I think, am I? Not with me, he smiled and put his hand on his chin, leaning to the side some. When you said to Shikamaru that you may not make it, was that just you trying to be realistic, or? He trailed off, and Naruto's face had fell bit by bit as he spoke. Well, yeah, he said, I know I'm cocky, but let's face it, if Itachi came for me right now I'd lose. He said it so casually, and we can only guess the leader is stronger. I know I'm stronger, and I know I wouldn't ever give up, but he trailed off and Kakashi nodded for him to continue. I'm pretty sure even I have a limit, right? Right, Kakashi agreed and felt like someone had taken a sledgehammer to his chest. Yet to find it though, he said, grinning, and Kakashi had to roll his eye. We will be there to back you up. So don't think you have to take it all on yourself, he said, and Naruto nodded. I mean it, you know you have Sakura, Yamato, and me. That's just the start. I know, he smiled, people have gotten better since I came home, it's not as. I'm glad to hear it, Kakashi agreed. Silence fell for a while. I'm going with Pervy Sage for a while, he said softly. He says he wants to teach me some stuff. It won't be so long this time. How long? Kakashi asked, burying his anxiety. He wasn't sure he could do another long trip. A few months, he shrugged. That's not so bad then, Kakashi smiled and Naruto nodded. Do you think we made the right choice? Abandoning Sasuke? Naruto asked quietly, and Kakashi couldn't even hide the surprise. I mean, I get Sakura giving up, and I'm glad she's moving on, but feels wrong, you know? Only Naruto would feel like it was wrong to abandon a man who treated him so awfully. A man who tried to kill him and Sakura. He tried to kill you, nobody would blame you for not wanting to bring him home anymore, Kakashi said gently. Yeah, I know, and I don't want him near Sakura. It's just, he's lost. I'm sure if I tried I could reach him from whatever darkness he had let consume him. Some people are just too far gone, Naruto. There is always something that could pull them back. He isn't emotionless, he is focused. I don't think that's the same thing. Kakashi sighed and cursed the boy's ability to see the good in anyone, no matter how bad they had been. Naruto, you can't try to help everyone. What are you going to do when the Akatsuki come for you? Look for a way to change their minds? Maybe, he half shrugged. I know it's naive, but I'd rather try before resorting to killing them. Kakashi pinched his nose. He honestly was infuriated and impressed with Naruto's ability to take so much but never give back the same treatment. As admirable as your loyalty is, there has to be a limit. A reasonable limit for you to put your foot down and do what needs to be done. I will, if they're a threat to the village, or the people I care about, of course I will do what needs to be done. And if they're a threat to you? Kakashi asked, and Naruto hesitated, looking at the floor. Then I'll do what I have to if I can't reach them, he said. I have a promise to keep after all, he smiled sadly. What promise? Kakashi asked. To do whatever I have to come home alive. With all I have, he shrugged, and Kakashi smiled at him, shaking his head. Shikamaru? He asked, and Naruto smiled wide, nodding. Had to reassure him somehow after I freaked him out with the thinking realistically conversation. Good, I didn't like that either, Kakashi agreed. He wasn't giving up. The only thing to worry about now is what he would do if he came across Sasuke again. They had said goodbye as Kakashi was leaving for a mission. He felt a little disappointed he was being sent out before Naruto would leave, but it couldn't be helped. He'd likely be gone by time he'd return. The mission was kept from him as it regarded Orochimaru, which in turn meant Sasuke. Team 8 were more than willing to take the mission. Shouldn't Naruto know about this? Hinata asked. I know he has said he isn't bound by that promise, but... Yeah. Kiba agreed. I bet he still wants to find him. He's never given up on anything, especially not people. He's probably still thinking of ways to save him. Kakashi was a little impressed that they knew him that well. Sure, they'd become good friends, but he didn't expect that much attention to have been paid by the teens. Not including Hinata, of course. Naruto doesn't need to know. It could very well be a dead end and he has other things he needs to be doing, Kakashi said. Are we ready? He asked. Yes. They said together, and they all took off. Kakashi hoped he didn't encounter Sasuke. He was officially a rogue, and while Kakashi had confidence he would do what was required, he still had that irrational slither of guilt for failing Itachi. And if he could help it, he'd like to avoid being the one to kill the youngest Uchiha. They approached the area Shino's bugs had stopped at, letting Kiba and Akamaru take over. Kakashi tried to work with the Inuzukas as little as possible. It just made him sad, and he would rather not have those feelings on mission. But seeing Kiba and Akamaru always had him wondering if his mother had her own dog, as Kiba did, as many of them did. The bond they had was always something that had bugged Kakashi. Because his mother married his father, and died while bringing him into the world, he never had the opportunity to raise a dog. It was never enough to cause deep emotional pain, but she was his mother, and he couldn't help but wonder. After his father died, Sam convinced her father to allow him to train some pups, giving him this only connection to his mother and her clan. But nobody had ever given him information on his mother, not even his father. Talking about her was hard for him, and he was away a lot for his own missions. He shook his head and focused on the mission, while Team 8 talked about proving themselves equal with Naruto and Shikamaru. If Sasuke was there, he knew what he would have to do, and he couldn't expect it from Team 8. He'd take responsibility for failing to see just how far Itachi's actions had drove Sasuke to this. He knew he had issues and he was cold, but he had never thought he would try to kill Sakura. In the 2.5 years they'd worked together, he had always had her back. Protected, so it had surprised him when he heard the whole story from Yamato. And now he was a danger to the village. With or without Orochimaru's influence, there was no way to know if he wouldn't come to try and finish off what he had started if he succeeded in his revenge. "We're close," Kiba said as Akamaru stopped and let out a soft growl. "I don't smell Sasuke," he informed Kakashi. "All right. Hinata?" "Yes." She nodded, immediately activating her Byakugan before turning to look around before a small gasp left her. "What is it?" "There are hundreds of chakra signatures up ahead, but they're all dying out one by one," she ran ahead. The hideout looked more like a prison. Hundreds of cells lined the wall and each floor. Bodies were everywhere, as if they had all fought each other. "It's like a fighting ring," Shino said. "Was Sasuke here?" Hinata asked, horrified. "I don't think so," Kakashi sighed, noting all of them had curse marks. "This looks like a selection. Perhaps Orochimaru has replaced the ninja he lost 3 years ago." Kiba looked up to him, eyes burning. "Bastard," he growled, fists clenched at his sides, and Kakashi couldn't blame him. He and the entire squad had almost died. "You survived it. Even with the curse marks they possessed, you came out alive. I wouldn't worry about anyone he could send next," Kakashi reassured him with a similar statement he had made himself earlier when the team were talking about proving themselves, while Kakashi had stayed in his own head. A small click made its way to Kakashi and he readied himself to move, impressed to see the teenagers had done the same before he needed to warn them. He used his earth style to protect himself underground as he felt the place blow over him. Relieved to still sense the teen's chakra above him, he waited out the explosions. The hideout was ruined and any evidence was useless now. When they had all come out safe, Kiba immediately caught sense that ended up being a dead end upon the clearing of the men and women in the crystals, also with their own curse marks, before being killed when the crystal release broke apart. At that point they had no choice but to retreat home. They camped in a forest and Kakashi left them to talk amongst themselves about their frustration. He looked up as shadows crossed his vision as Hinata sat next to him. "Hello," he nodded, and she smiled sweetly at him. Really, Kakashi thought, how could this sweet girl be a ninja? He never understood the clan's rules on their people becoming ninja. Some people were just not cut out for it. And Hinata's temperament was a clear sign she was too kind to be expected to kill people. He supposed that's why he likes Tsunade. If she could help it, she keeps people who clearly aren't cut out for it clear of such situations, hence her being on a specialized tracking team even after becoming a Chunin. "Something on your mind?" he asked, and her blush immediately took over the majority of her face. "Ah, Naruto," he thought, smiling. Poor girl, he wished he could tell her that it would never happen and she shouldn't waste her time. He suspected she would never try to let him go if she wasn't explicitly told by him, and she was too shy and timid to make her own move. Kakashi remembered her guilt too. She had never stood up for him, never even tried for fear of the consequences from her father, and her inability to actually talk to him. How is Naruto?" she stammered. "He's better. He can't use that jutsu again, but he bounced back pretty quickly, no doubt off to learn more from Jiraiya," Kakashi said cheerfully, ignoring the twist of grief he felt at not seeing Naruto for a while so soon after his return. It wouldn't be long, he told himself. Just a few months. "I'm glad he's going to go far, and I don't think he is close to being done," she said, her voice laced with adoration, and Kakashi nodded. "I agree." When he returned, Naruto had in fact already gone. Feeling his mood drop considerably, he went to his spot and pulled out his book, only to groan at Ino and Shikamaru on the bench below his perch. "Come on, Shikamaru," she huffed. "We never do anything as a couple and Sakura wants to go on a double date. I haven't seen her and Lee together and I really want to spend time with them. Please? It's too much of a drag. You're all loud. I'd rather sleep," he sighed, and she glared at him. "Look, we're going to be married eventually. Don't you think we should at least try to be a couple? We will eventually have to commit." Shikamaru opened his eyes and glared at the sky. "Look, you knew what you were getting into. If you don't like it, go tell your dad it isn't working for you. I don't do dates, I don't do couple get-togethers, I don't do much of anything," he shrugged. Tears filled her eyes as her fist clenched at her sides. "I have a duty to my clan. But are you really not going to even try to like me? Our whole lives we're just going to..." She closed her eyes and turned away as tears escaped. Shikamaru groaned and sat up. Ino, he sighed and hung his head as he rested his elbows on his knees. You knew this, you said you were okay with it. We will have to step it up and people will expect us to be a real couple and our wedding night. She bowed her head, her voice shaking. So a double date was a good transition. She shrugged and turned to face him. I won't be like him, Shikamaru said calmly, and I won't grow to love you like that, Ino. I know you could for me, but he shook his head as she sat next to him, her eyes wide with both panic and hurt. If you think you have a future with Sai, I suggest you take it because I won't be the one to make you happy. It won't matter how much time we spend together. But it can happen, she said, her voice sounding so small. Arranged marriages can work, and we have met plenty who fall in love later. Not this time. Not with me, he shrugged and turned to look to her. You know my family won't blame you if you had your dad refuse. And I think your dad would be glad to as well. Why won't you? She asked. And have to find a reason to explain to my mother? He scoffed. No thanks. This is the path of least resistance. I do, she cut off and took a deep breath. I don't want to let him down, she admitted. Have you met your dad? Kakashi turned and decided he'd read later. You could never do wrong in his eyes. Shikamaru scoffed, and Ino's choked out laugh was the last thing he heard before going in search of Guy. He knew he'd come searching to check on him. Now Naruto was gone again, might as well get it over with on his own accord. A terrible decision for his lack of energy right now. Guy, ever predictable, was training with Lee. Kakashi was tough and his training wasn't a walk in the park either, but he honestly didn't understand how they did it. It was just raw physical workouts that in reality should have them being huge buff men. What diet were they on? Hey Kakashi! He looked to the bench to see Sakura smiling at him, waving cheerfully. Hello, Sakura, he nodded and walked over to her. How was the mission? Technically we succeeded, he moved his head from side to side, not the outcome we hoped for. That a shame. What are you doing here? Stopping an unnecessary explanation to Guy, he shrugged and sat next to her. He really cares about you, she smiled, and Kakashi internally groaned. Great, now the kids were starting. You two are really close, huh? Don't, he deadpanned, and she giggled. Oh come on, Kakashi. We have had it from all our superiors and classmates, we don't need it from you lot too. Well, maybe we see something you refuse to, she shrugged, and Kakashi shook his head. He knew for certain there was no feelings in that way for Guy. And he knew Guy would never love again. They were both straight, and it was beyond him why people thought otherwise. What do you see? Kakashi asked her, leaning against the back of the bench. Well, you're hard to read, but you love him, I can see that much from you. Maybe as much as you love Naruto, she smiled. So as family? He questioned, and her face fell as if that hadn't crossed her mind. You see Naruto as family? What did you think it was? I thought it was like, I don't know, like you felt responsible for him, but she frowned. I suppose like a kid you watched grow and felt he needed you, but hearing you say it was unexpected, she laughed nervously. But Guy is easy and he loves you, there's no question there, she continued. He doesn't look at you the way he looks at Lee. He wouldn't, Kakashi nodded. Guy loved that boy like nothing else in the world and nobody else understood why. Not even Lee himself. Or his other friends. You're more important to him than them. The only thing that makes sense is... We're in love? Kakashi asked doubtfully, and she looked to her knees and blushed. Okay, when you say it like that, she mumbled, shaking her head, and looked a little embarrassed. Don't worry, you're not first, and you won't be the last. Just because it's odd doesn't mean it's more than just friendship. Guess you're just your generation of Shikamaru and Naruto, she shrugged. Kakashi had to refrain from wincing because that's not a helpful example. Polar opposites make the best friends, apparently, she chuckled. Sakura. Lee called and landed in front of her. Training is done. Thank you for waiting, my dear. His hand outstretched, and Kakashi was so pleased by his clear adoration for her he didn't even take offense. He didn't get so much as a hello. I wanted to see you before you go, she smiled, accepting his hand to help her up. Have a nice time, Guy yelled from behind Lee. They both said goodbye and Guy sat down next to Kakashi. You're back sooner than I expected. Well, mission went a little awry. But we achieved our objective. I know you feel guilty, but don't let that cloud your judgment. I won't. You know it won't, so stop worrying about it. Sasuke is a rogue. And he chose it. There's nothing I can do for him anymore. He lost Naruto and Sakura's faith, and it was all he had to protect him. He's the second Uchiha to betray the village, and I've taken it personal when they come for Naruto and Sakura, he groaned. He was angry about the whole situation, trying to bury it, but honestly he had no idea why they had to turn so violently. And why Naruto was the one they came for. He was glad Mikoto and Fugaka weren't around to see it. It'd break their hearts, especially Mikoto. That sounds a lot like ANBU there, Guy said, placing his hand on Kakashi's shoulder. I am an ANBU, he looked to Guy. Just because I don't do it anymore doesn't erase that I am. And when people I care for need it, I'll be as ruthless as I have to be, regardless of my feelings about it. I know you know what that feels like. Guy looked back to the direction Lee went off in and nodded. The green beast of the leaf has a scary meaning to it when I think about losing him, he agreed, and Kakashi smiled. He never pretended to believe he knew what the love like that felt like. Naruto wasn't his son after all, but he figured it was the closest he would get. Will you ever tell him? I want to, but he never talks about it. And when it's brought up, he genuinely doesn't seem fazed that he didn't know about his parents, Guy said, his voice missing its usual joyous volume. And then what do I say? I left him alone for years. You didn't know, Kakashi reassured him. There was no way you could have known he survived. It took years for children to be reunited with their parents or families, especially the babies. You know he likely wasn't the only one. Guy nodded and sighed. He had only found out 2 days before the attack that he had a son and held him once. Lee's mother away on recon mission and had him on the way home. She had sent word she was returning early because she wanted the baby with Guy there. They were only young then the attack had happened, and he never found them. He searched for 6 months. But Lee had not grown into any features. It was pure coincidence he met him and knew the truth immediately. He idolizes you, Guy. You don't think he wouldn't be thrilled to know? I'm more concerned he will feel betrayed, he admitted. They sat in silence for a while, and Kakashi felt bad he had brought the conversation to the one thing Guy was unable to get past. Even now, Guy still couldn't explain why he didn't tell him soon after they met. Well, I think he'd be good about it. But kids want to know their parents. And you're the only one who has those answers for him. Like you do for Naruto? He asked. He knows, he understands why he can't know, and he is being patient, Kakashi sighed. Given how he took the news about his new jutsu, I actually think he could handle it, and not get into his overexcited yelling and showing off about it. So you'll tell him? Guy asked, surprised. Yes, soon, I think. He deserved to know, and he'd grown up a lot. The fact he was able to keep his own feelings to himself because he understood the danger it possessed for Shikamaru gave Kakashi hope he would do the same for himself. Whether Minato was his father or not. He nodded absently in agreement to his own thoughts. Yeah, I think it's time to tell him. When do you need to leave for your mission? Kakashi asked, assuming it was a mission Sakura was talking about. Tonight. Want a challenge? He asked, hoping to make up for talking about Lee. Guy rose to his feet, fist in the air, and Kakashi took in a breath, trying to pull in the energy this is going to require, glad for his mask to hide his smirk. Kakashi groaned at the banging that woke him, turning his face into his pillow before looking up to his headboard. Guy! He yelled, swinging his legs off the bed and storming to his bedroom door. Pulling it open, he was greeted with not Guy, but Naruto running around the living room with a pan, banging it everywhere. Naruto? He yelled, and the boy looked over to him, grinning like a moron, and fell over the couch. Kakashi groaned, rubbing his face, and took a deep breath. Not that he wasn't happy to see him, or that he had come to find him, but he was worse than Guy. Then he saw a squirrel run across the floor and up the wall to the until it got lost behind the curtains. Why is there a squirrel in my house? He asked. It ran in when I climbed through the window, Naruto said, and looking a little embarrassed. Naruto. You are a ninja, why were you chasing it with a pan? He asked, stepping into the room, closing his bedroom door. Walking to the window, he moved the curtain and swiftly caught the jumping animal before throwing it out the window, where it smoothly caught the tree and went on its way. Oh yeah, he laughed, and Kakashi sometimes wondered how he managed to come so far. When did you get back? He asked, looking at the clock. It was early. Early hours this morning. Came to bring you breakfast and catch up, Naruto grinned, getting to his feet and pointing to the kitchen counter. Grandma said you had no missions today, so I figured you'd be home. Training go well? He sulked and folded his arms. I know he has his methods, but I'm still not pleased about dancing around with that damn toad, he huffed, and Kakashi chuckled, nodding. He imagined Jiraiya teased Naruto quite a bit. He isn't exactly the mature old man you'd expect. Kakashi didn't put it past him to make the training somewhat amusing. He got all riled up and he was off. Kakashi sat at the kitchen counter and let him ramble on. He seemed good, happier and more himself, which made Kakashi happy. It was like his own moods wouldn't settle unless Naruto was being his usual tiring self. After breakfast, Naruto gulped down a glass of water and looked to Kakashi. How was your mission? The one you went on with Kiba before I left? It was a success. We actually returned not long after you had left. Knew I should have waited longer. He frowned. Any word on the Akatsuki or Orochimaru? Nothing lately, though we still have ninja assigned to find any of his hideouts. You likely won't be told though, Kakashi warned him. I know, he nodded. It's probably for the best. I'm not entirely sure what I'd do. He admitted. I want to help him. But he's clearly dangerous, and he's stronger than most of the ninja we know, so. You're really growing up, Naruto. Kakashi smiled. Stop it. He flicked his head and Naruto smirked up at him. Pretty sure that's what I'm supposed to do, he sneered, and Kakashi smiling. He watched Naruto get up and take his glass to the sink, putting his rubbish in the bin before cleaning it. Is it okay now, sensei? He thought. I think it's time he knew. Naruto, Kakashi called, and his tone was serious, enough that Naruto turned to face him with a concerned look. Come sit down. Naruto nodded, putting the glass of the drying rack and using the towel to dry his hands before coming to sit opposite him. Kakashi reached over and picked up his old teen photo and passed it to him. Naruto was clearly confused, but he took it and looked at his self-made family. You were cute as a kid, Kakashi. He smiled. Why are you showing me this? He asked, looking up. He knew they'd all died for their village. Minato was obvious, but he had asked about the photo in the past and Kakashi had told him. Well, you know I considered them my family, and you know I see you that way too. Naruto nodded but was still confused. Mostly because of your parents we ended up that way. Taking us and your mom mothering us. Naruto's face fell and his chest heaved as he realized where Kakashi was going with it. Naruto, your father was Minato Namikaze, Lord Fourth. The photo fell from his hands, landing on his lap as his eyes widened and he looked out the window to the monument. Tears fell and no doubt a lot of mixed emotions. He wiped his eyes and looked to Kakashi. I was born the day Kurama attacked. Lord Third said it was a timing issue and unfortunately you were there. Kakashi nodded. Your mother survived long enough to tell Lord Third your name. Unfortunately nobody knows the details past your mother being taken. He smiled ever so slightly and nodded, his chin shaking from the emotions he was trying to hold in. I can't believe he's my dad. He looked at Kakashi sharply. The Rasen, he cut off, his voice breaking. Well, who else should complete it but his son? Kakashi smiled. He'd surpassed his father, even Kakashi. Minato would be proud. I remember learning about his role in the war. It's why he had so many enemies. Naruto nodded, looking a little dazed. I guess I get why you couldn't tell me. And my mom? He asked. There weren't any pictures of her publicly with Minato, not for her protection but any future family they'd have. Kakashi never had her picture out to avoid questions. He smiled down at Naruto, crossing the room to the sideboard and pulled out a photo album from the cupboard. He wasn't one for pictures but he had enough to fill half the album, making space for any he may take later. Opening it a few pages and he handed it to Naruto, there were mostly pictures of Kushina, Minato and his other teammates. The first was of Kushina and Minato with all of them. He handed the book to him, and Naruto took it eagerly. Her name was Kushina. She was a lot like you, he told him softly, and Naruto smiled with more tears, quickly wiping them away only for more to come. She was beautiful, she choked out. Kakashi nodded and Naruto frowned. If his enemies were so dangerous, why didn't they stay apart? He asked. Well, she was a pretty tough shinobi herself, and they had trust in each other to be okay. Love is a pretty strong motivator to fight to be with together. I suppose so, he nodded. I think that kindness you have, the ability to see the best in people, is from her. She never once doubted me when I lost my way. Then again, I think they both helped me stay focused on coming out of my guilt, I should say. And she was always so encouraging of Obito's dream, even if it seemed foolish. Naruto looked at him but didn't say anything. They were perfect for each other, and they were so excited for you. His own face fell because it was cruel, so unfair it was ripped from them. Thanks, Kakashi, he said. After a while he looked up and Kakashi didn't like the look. What is it? He asked. Do you think she'd be disappointed I gave up on him? Kakashi knew he shouldn't have mentioned her about giving up on him. But honestly, he knew she'd at least be upset that her friend's son was lost. But she'd be more furious he tried to kill Naruto. Kakashi didn't doubt that if she were here she'd be hunting him down. No. I was not even close to as lost as Sasuke. I never forgot the people important to me even if I avoided them. I focused on protecting and missions. Kushina would know when someone is past saving. And honestly, she'd have beaten Sasuke within an inch of his life after what he's done to you. Probably the way you would have if he landed that attack on Sakura, I'd guess, Kakashi said, tilting his head to look at him. A ghost of a smile came over his lips and he nodded. That's true, he nodded. I may have even killed him. He admitted it wasn't him, but what if he is there? He's been with Orochimaru for almost 4 years. You can't expect him to be the boy you knew. You changed a lot too, remember, he pointed out, and Naruto snorted and shook his head. The idea that Naruto was unaware of how much he had grown was a little baffling. He suddenly sat straight, placing the album on the counter, and stood up. He hugged Kakashi and held on tightly that he felt the pressure on his chest. Thank you, Pops. You're the best dad I could have ever asked for. I love you. Kakashi felt his eyes water and slowly put his arms around Naruto. I'll be there through it all, he promised, and Naruto nodded, his chin digging into Kakashi's shoulder slightly. Love you too, Naruto. Kakashi blinked rapidly, pushing back the tears, and pulled back. Enough of the mushy stuff, it was making him uncomfortable. But he couldn't deny it made him happy. Naruto sniffed and laughed nervously. No doubt a bit embarrassed. So I have to go meet Sakura. Apparently she needs my help, he huffed, and sat back down. With what? She's been asking Ino to go on a double date, but Shikamaru is refusing. Apparently she's asked for the last 2 months. Naruto laughed nervously, not sure what I'm going to tell her. I imagine it'd be awkward, Kakashi agreed. Despite the talk they had, it seemed Ino was yet to tell her father she didn't want to marry Shikamaru, and she had brushed off the date as Shikamaru's refusal. Naruto nodded and frowned. If they get married before the Akatsuki come, I mean it's over, shouldn't he at least be trying to make an effort? Naruto asked. Do you want him to? Kakashi asked, and he shook his head. No, if it happened he's gonna have more trouble with her later if he doesn't. He looked conflicted, and Kakashi nodded, understanding. Probably best to talk to him, he advised, and there was a knock on the door. Naruto closed the photo album and returned the picture and the album where they belong. Kakashi went to his room to put on his mask as Naruto opened the door. Sai, hey, he sounded confused. Hey, are you okay? He now sounded concerned. Kakashi rushed out, putting his mask in place, and saw Sai looking, well, panicked. I couldn't find Sakura. Yamato is out of the village. I did not know Naruto had returned. I'm sorry to have disturbed you. It's okay, Kakashi nodded. Has something happened? He asked. He wasn't 100% sure on the boy, but he did trust him more. Clearly being around people had caused a lot of confusion for him. I feel sick. But I have no fever. My throat feels tight and I find it hard to speak, and my heart is racing, he said, his voice breaking a few times. You're upset, Naruto told him, maybe worried. Did something happen? When did it start? When I was speaking with Ino the other day, he nodded factually. Okay, did you talk about anything triggering? Kakashi asked. No. Just the bouquet she was making. She seemed sad and asked what I thought about her engagement. Perhaps she wanted to know before she upset her family, Kakashi thought. I told her it wasn't my place to have an opinion other than I hoped she'd be happy. She was upset, and when I asked why, she said that the wedding was being pushed forward. The elders were done waiting for Naruto, and now they had grieved. He frowned, but it didn't seem like she was done, Sai said. What? Naruto hissed, his eyes widening, color draining from his face. Well, she was crying. I do. The wedding is being pushed forward? Naruto asked. When? They will give them a simple wedding at the end of the month, he stated. And how do you feel about that, Sai? Kakashi asked him, gently stepping forward to put his hand on Naruto's back. Should I feel something about it? He asked. Well, you have certainly reacted to it. And you seem to have become close with Ino, he pointed out, and Sai frowned and looked at the floor. Kakashi could practically see his brain pulling out references he had read in all of those books. I like being around her, he nodded, his eyes shifting back and forth as he put all the facts together. Oh dear, he blinked, looking up to them, and Kakashi nodded. You knew? He asked. I suspected, Kakashi corrected. She wanted me to tell her, he said. I believe so. But what if I am wrong? I don't know for certain it is attraction, he frowned. That's true. But you have about 2 weeks to figure it out. Wait, Sai and Ino? Naruto asked, surprised, and the red blush that came over Sai's face was evident enough. Possibly, Kakashi shrugged. Naruto, you've had both emotional and sexual feelings for Sakura, can you explain them? I don't want to be wrong, he said, and Naruto spluttered and stumbled over his tongue trying to speak. I don't remember ever telling you I like Sakura, Naruto finally yelled. No. But others have said you have had a crush on her for years, Sai nodded, and he looked to Kakashi for help. Had he ever said he liked her? Kakashi never recalled. So you don't know how it feels? Sai asked, tilting his head, and Naruto went bright red, shoving him out the door and muttering how he will pummel the other boy. I'll catch up later, Kakashi, Naruto said cheerfully while giving him a look that screamed, don't you dare follow for this. It had been a few days since Naruto returned, and he refused to speak about the conversation with Sai. But he had also been avoiding Shikamaru. The idea that there was officially a date for the wedding seemed to really bother him. "I heard Naruto is back," came Shikamaru's voice from behind him. Kakashi looked back to see him walking his way. He slowed his steps and nodded. "Yes, 3 days ago." "Is he okay?" "I haven't seen him at all." "He may have heard about the wedding," Kakashi told him. "Shit," he groaned and lifted his head toward the sky as he put his hand on his head. "Who told him?" Sigh. Shikamaru glared at the floor and looked as angry as Kakashi had ever seen him. "So he is avoiding me." "Think it's more the conversation," Kakashi shrugged, stopping outside Ichiraku's and eyeing it. "Okay, so he was invested in their relationship. It wasn't his fault." Shikamaru looked under the banner to see Naruto sat there, and nodded a thanks before going inside and causing Naruto to jump. "Should have known you'd be here," he said, and Naruto didn't reply. His chair scraped across the floor before he thanked Tucci and left without a word. "Naruto," Shikamaru called and followed as he left, heading to his apartment. Shikamaru stuffed his hands in his pocket and followed. But Kakashi was wrong. They made a turn to the forest, and he supposed that shouldn't surprise him. He wouldn't want anyone hearing this. He sat down when he was satisfied, and Shikamaru stood behind him, leaving a little distance. "I wanted to be the one to tell you. I'm sorry I wasn't." "Not your fault. Just bad timing." Naruto shrugged, his voice void of much emotion. "It's hard enough now to be around you and not, but this is probably for the best." "You can't mean that," Shikamaru hissed, and Naruto bowed his head. "You're getting married, you'll make a family and then run your clan," he sighed, "and it'll be a hell of a lot safer for you than with me." "I don't give a damn about what's safe," Shikamaru snapped. "We've run out of time." He looked to Shikamaru. "I can't go find them. I have to wait for them to come to hunt me like an animal. Which keeps us apart anyway. If you're married, that is it. There is no one day, so let's face it." And now his voice broke at the end, his controls slipping. "Then let me tell my parents?" Shikamaru pleaded. "If I tell them, Dad will call it off." Why? "No. Nah. No, Shikamaru," he snapped, standing up to turn to him, his eyes blazing red. "I have enough nightmares about it than adding worry for people knowing," he said through clenched teeth. "This isn't fair, Naruto. You can't just," he cut off. "What, break up?" Naruto asked, his eyes turning back to his own. "Sounds right, but no. We never." Shikamaru's hands were shaking and Naruto moved his own before pulling them back and putting them in his pockets. "Guess this wasn't our time," Naruto sighed. "I wish you only happiness with her," he forced out, turning to leave. Shikamaru caught his arm in a grip so tight his knuckles were turning white. "Don't. Naruto, if you give up. You think I want this? You think this is going to be easy to sit there and watch you get married, eventually start a family? Damn it, Shikamaru, I won't be able to be around you anymore. The only thing making it bearable now is that we can be close, lay in the forest, you reading your books I don't understand, and now I can't even do that." "Wait," Shikamaru stepped in close. "So not only are you giving up, you're going to walk away completely?" Naruto laughed dryly, looking a little manic. "What? Be friends who want to sleep with each other? That tension building up until we slip up and make you an unfaithful man? I don't think so. You'd hate yourself. You really think we could go on as we have?" And no, he bit his lip and took a deep breath. "You're not stupid. You know this is how it will have to be. Why am I being the logical one here?" he asked, and tears finally fell. "Damn it," he cried, hiding his face in his hands. Kakashi felt bad for them but also proud of Naruto. He was accepting that he couldn't hang around Shikamaru anymore. "We can make the most of it now. I know it's a bad idea, but I'm not married yet." He tried and reached for Naruto, but he stepped away. "I don't have the restraint, Shikamaru. And the fact it's right around the corner is making it hard to not just." He shook his head, still not looking up. Kakashi saw Shikamaru nod. "I know," he whispered, "but nobody has a willpower like yours. I don't want this to be it." Kakashi only just managed to hear him. Naruto was gone in a flash, and Shikamaru was stood dumbfounded before he fell back against a tree. He looked devastated, and Kakashi knew Naruto would be the same. Knowing Shikamaru wouldn't want witnesses to his heartbreak, he made after Naruto. The wedding day was here, and it was a little under an hour away from starting. Naruto was sat in his suit at a park bench with the other rookie 9, Sai and Team Guy. "Don't they all look great?" Guy asked, walking up to Kakashi's right. "They did, even Lee was in a suit." "They sure do," Kakashi nodded. Naruto had done a tremendous job with acting like he was okay and excited for the wedding. He had even agreed to escort Hinata to the wedding, and they had been complimented plenty about how they looked good together. He had foregone his usual bright orange, and went for a dark blue, almost black suit with a purple tie that Hinata had coordinated with her dress. Kakashi was sure she had chosen the suit too, but he hadn't actually asked Naruto yet. The others too had foregone their usual and turned up smart and looking all grown. Guy and Kakashi made their way down as Temari and Gaara made it over. You didn't even try, Naruto laughed at Gaara, who only folded his arms. I'm in my formal Kazekage outfit. It's what I'm supposed to do, he deadpanned, and the group burst out laughing. Temari had gone all out in her faded purple strappy dress, and they went to her feet. Similar to Tenten's but in red. So when do we head to the compound? Kiba asked. We should probably head over now, Kakashi said. We are walking after all. They all stood, Niji helping Tenten to her feet as Naruto did for Hinata. It's so exciting, 2 of our friends getting married, she smiled. I'm glad they're good friends at least. Well yeah, gonna get forced to marry, best to be someone you at least like, Hinata. Kiba winked, and she shook her head. Kakashi didn't miss the annoyed frown that came to Sai's face. As they all walked ahead, he strayed to the back. You okay there? Kakashi asked, and Sai looked up to him surprised. Had he not noticed I was here? Kakashi wondered. I think so. So you figured it out then? Kakashi asked, and he nodded. I did. Naruto was very helpful. What was your conclusion? He asked. That I have feelings for Ino Yamanaka. Huh? Kakashi asked, a little confused. If that was the case, why hadn't he told her? But you aren't going to tell her? It would be incredibly selfish. I don't know my own feelings or others. To ask her not to marry would be a horrible thing to do. Even if it is only an arranged marriage? Kakashi asked. He cursed himself. He shouldn't be getting involved, and he certainly shouldn't be prompting him to crash the wedding, but it wouldn't just help Naruto, that's what he told himself. He'd seen enough to know none of them would be happy. Perhaps you should give her that choice. She did ask your opinion after all, Kakashi stated, and he seemed to ponder on that the rest of the way. While Kakashi tried not to think that he may have become the reason the wedding had crashed. Naruto sat in the second row with Hinata. He was tense and Kakashi could see it. He moved up to ask Sakura if he could sit between them. He took Naruto's hand and the boy held on for dear life. I can't, he whispered. Kakashi leant down. You can. You have to, Kakashi whispered in his ear. Naruto? Choji softly called, and he looked to the end of the row. What's up? He asked. Shikaku wants to speak with you, he said, pointing to the Nara head at the doors to the house. Naruto looked back and then to Kakashi, who only shrugged before gently encouraging him to go. I'll be right back, Hinata, he told her, and she smiled brightly, nodding to him. Kakashi was beyond curious as to what the Nara head wanted with Naruto at a time like this. So he switched out with a clone, sneaking out to go listen as they entered the house and went into his office. So, is there something you need? Naruto asked nervously. I'm not blind, Naruto. And I'm certainly not easy to fool, Shikaku. I know that, Naruto answered. My son is fulfilling a promise he didn't make. And it is very obvious he doesn't want it. But I need to know you aren't going to make it harder for him. I do. Do not lie to me, I'm not angry about it, only saddened, he said, and Naruto let out a breath. You don't need to worry. We've had this conversation. Please don't talk about it with anyone, it's safer. I see, that explains his behavior, Shikaku sighed. This is the last chance. You may regret not taking the time you could have because of the fear of what could happen. I suggest you truly think about it. In 5 minutes it'll be too late, Shikaku said softly, and Kakashi ducked round the corner to avoid being caught listening in. Naruto came out and leant against the doorframe, arms folded and his face troubled. Did I just get the blessing to date him? He asked softly, and Kakashi chuckled. And crashed the wedding apparently. Naruto frowned, and it was obvious Shikaku's words affected him. Hey, whatever you choose I'll support it, but I hate seeing you so miserable. You know we would all watch out for the both of you if you choose to take the risk, and you already know his choice on the matter. Naruto nodded, lowering his head, shadows covering his eyes. Damn it, he spat and headed to the door opposite, knocking quickly. Kakashi smiled as he opened the door and burst in. He stopped at the sight of Ino patting on some cover makeup over Shikamaru's eye. One looked fine, the other was awful. The eye that wasn't done had a dark circle and he looked more exhausted than usual. Shikamaru looked awful, but he seemed to become more alert seeing Naruto. Naruto? Ino asked. Is everything okay? She asked, and he looked to her, to Shikamaru. He put his hand on his head, sighing heavily. I'm really sorry, Ino. But you are not getting married today, he said. She looked confused while Shikamaru stood up behind her.